Chapter 919. Chapter 919. Don't get cocky, Solitaire. Looking back at the approaching metal-devouring lion, Ning Yu waved the red demon sword in his hand and slashed out several sword waves. Whoosh! The overwhelming sword waves surged towards the metal-devouring lion. Ning Yu did not intend to kill the metal-devouring lion. His goal was to leave this place and find the Dark Emperor. Roar! The metal-devouring demon lion looked up to the sky and roared, scattering the several sword waves that Ning Yu had slashed out almost instantly. It's so strong! Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat. He felt that he might have underestimated the metal-devouring lion's battle prowess. After all, it was a pinnacle second-grade human supreme. Its strength should not be that low. The difference between demonic beasts and humans was that a second-grade human supreme could even fight against a third-grade human supreme. Let's go. Although the metal-devouring demon lion easily withstood the attacks of the sword waves, there was a short pause in its movements. In this short pause, Ning Yu had already left the cave. F***CK. As soon as he left the cave, Ning Yu could not help but curse when he saw the massive creature in front of him. The golden-eyed bull. The corpse on the ground was the golden-eyed bull. Beside the golden-eyed bull, the leaf-flaming condor was also on its last breath. So the battle was not between the golden-eyed bull and the leaf-flaming condor, but between them and the metal-devouring lion. Ning Yu immediately understood. When he was cultivating in the depths of the cave, he had always thought that the battle outside the cave was between the golden-eyed bull and the leaf-flaming condor. Now, it seemed that the battle was between the metal-devouring lion and the leaf-flaming condor. The metal-devouring lion was indeed very strong. It was reasonable for it to be able to kill the golden-eyed bull and heavily injure the leaf-flaming condor. Where do you think you're going? At this moment, the metal-devouring lion roared and dashed out of the cave. Metal-devouring lion, don't think that I won't dare to do anything to you. Ning Yu held the red demon sword in his hand and said with a cold expression. At this moment, Ning Yu knew that it was unrealistic for him to leave. If he could not get rid of the metal-devouring demon lion, even if he ran to the ends of the earth, the metal-devouring demon lion would still chase him. Humph! Hand over the innate spirit dew, and I'll leave your corpse intact. The metal-devouring demon lion snorted coldly. I've said it before, the innate spirit dew has already been refined by me, but you didn't believe me. Ning Yu said in a deep voice, Since that's the case, I'll teach you a lesson. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Yu gripped the red demon sword in his hand and charged forward like a bolt of lightning. Ning Yu's speed was very fast. He was so fast that he had only taken a few steps when his body fused with the void. Roar! The metal-devouring demon lion wasn't a pushover either. It stomped on the ground, opened its bloody mouth, and roared. Voila! With the metal-devouring demon lion as the epicenter, an extremely terrifying shockwave spread in all directions. The power of the shockwave was indeed terrifying. The surrounding trees were uprooted and the air was scattered. Damn it! As the air scattered, Ning Yu appeared in the void. Cursing silently, Ning Yu injected the essence in his sea of consciousness into the red demon sword and stabbed it forward. Chi! When the red demon sword came into contact with the shockwave, it constantly emitted a sizzling sound. Although the resistance of the shockwave was strong, Ning Yu was still advancing slowly. Roar! 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 Seeing that Ning Yu was getting closer, the metal-devouring demon lion roared again. Suppress it! Ning Yu's eyes turned cold. He immediately increased the amount of essence he injected and continued to advance slowly. Time was ticking away. The metal-devouring demon lion's expression grew uglier as Ning Yu advanced. In the end, the metal-devouring demon lion had no choice but to give up on roaring. Its tail twitched and swept towards Ning Yu's head. Chop! After the metal-devouring demon lion gave up on roaring, the pressure on Ning Yu disappeared. Without any pressure, Ningyu swung the red demon sword at the metal-devouring demon lion's tail. Bang! When the two collided, the metal-devouring demon lion felt waves of pain from its tail. Then, its body fell heavily to the ground. Ah! A hysterical roar came from the metal-devouring demon lion's mouth. At the same time, the metal-devouring demon lion's aura plummeted. In just a few seconds, it fell from a peak second-grade human supreme to an early second-grade human supreme. Brett, the one I'm going to tear apart is you. Despite being at a disadvantage in one move, the metal-devouring demon lion did not give up. Instead, it charged forward and used its front claws to strike Ningyu's chest heavily. Facing the charging metal-devouring demon lion, not only did Ningyu not block it, he even slowly closed his eyes. You're courting death. The metal-devouring demon lion naturally saw Ningyu closing his eyes. The metal-devouring demon lion would not give up such a good opportunity. It gathered all the energy in its body into its front claws and slammed them into Ningyu's chest. Bang! A crisp sound rang out. Ha ha ha, brat, I said I'm going to tear you apart, so I will. The metal-devouring demon lion laughed maniacally at the sky. However, the metal-devouring demon lion's maniacal laughter stopped abruptly before it could even finish. Ningyu's eyes suddenly opened, and the corners of his mouth curled up uncontrollably. Puff! The red demon's sword in his hand stabbed out. A dull thud rang out. The metal-devouring demon lion looked down at the red flying sword stuck in its body. Its mouth was agape, and its face was filled with shock. What kind of flying sword is that? How could it stab into my body? The metal-devouring demon lion said, Also, why is your body so hard? Even a grade 2 human supreme would be smashed into pieces by that claw of mine. The metal-devouring demon lion would never have imagined that Ningyu's body was so hard that it only took a few steps back. Comparatively speaking, it was much worse off. Its powerful claw had failed to injure Ningyu, and Ningyu was stabbed by Ningyu's flying sword instead. One after the other, the outcome was obvious. Looks like the King middle-grade phantom armor is really awesome. Ningyu did not answer the metal-devouring demon lion's question, but murmured to himself. In fact, the reason why Ningyu did not block the metal-devouring demon lion's attack was that he wanted to test the phantom armor's defense. Although the aura of the gold-devouring demon lion had fallen from the pinnacle second-grade sovereign realm to the initial phase second-grade sovereign realm, Ningyu was still shocked that the king-rank middle-rank mirage armor could withstand his attacks. If I get more energy in the future, I'll give priority to the phantom armor. Ningyu secretly made up his mind. If he ever found another treasure like the innate spirit dew, he would give priority to the phantom armor. After all, a good defensive artifact could save his life at a critical moment. Metal-devouring demon lion, I've already said that you're not my opponent, but you didn't believe me? Now you've shot yourself in the foot, haven't you? Ningyu said as he kept the red demon sword. Don't be too pleased with yourself. I've just gone through a huge battle, and I've exhausted a lot of my energy. Furthermore, you used a sneak attack on me. Otherwise, I would have cut you into pieces. Chapter 920. Chapter 920. Foolish, I'm not proud. I'm just stating a fact. Ningyu shrugged. No matter what, you lost to me. I did lose to you, but it won't be that easy for you to kill me. The metal-devouring lion's face was cold as its aura sword. In a few seconds, the metal-devouring lion's aura soared to its peak. Don't bother with the work. Feeling the powerful aura from the metal-devouring lion, Ningyu waved his hand. You burned your blood essence to increase your strength. Aren't you afraid of repercussions? At this point, Ningyu paused for a moment before he continued. Also, are you an idiot? If I wanted to kill you, you would have died a long time ago. How could you still be alive now? Uft! Hearing Ningyu's words, the metal-devouring lion deflated like a balloon and returned to normal. Kid, what do you want? The metal-devouring lion said coldly. I don't want anything. I just want you to swear to the heavens that you won't mess with me anymore. Ning Yu said. That's impossible. The metal-devouring lion would never agree to Ning Yu's request. Not mess with Ning Yu? What a joke. Ning Yu stole a large pool of his primordial spirit dew. He had to get back at him. If that's the case, then don't blame me. Ning Yu didn't want to kill the metal-devouring lion, but since the metal-devouring lion didn't know what was good for him, he had to send it to the next world. After all, the metal-devouring lion was extremely powerful. Keeping this ticking time bomb alive would not be peaceful in the future. Wait, seeing that Ning Yu was about to kill it, the metal-devouring lion seemed to have understood and said hurriedly, I promise you. As it spoke, the metal-devouring lion immediately swore to the heavens. Ning Yu was slightly stunned by the metal-devouring demon lion's actions. Ning Yu did not expect the metal-devouring demon lion to swear the heavenly Tao oath at this moment. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't puzzled. But the metal-devouring demon lion's oath to the heavenly Tao was real. If Ning Yu wanted to kill the metal-devouring demon lion now, it would be a little unreasonable. A married girl can't take back what she said, just like the water she's thrown out. Ning Yu had no choice but to say, since you've made a heavenly oath, I'll spare your life. With that, Ning Yu turned around and left. He didn't want to stay here a moment longer. Lu Wei and the others were still waiting for him at the entrance to the inner regions of the magical beast mountain range. If they were to encounter any danger, Ning Yu would definitely blame himself to death. I want to go with you too. Seeing that Ning Yu was about to leave, the metal-devouring demon lion rolled its eyes and shouted. The metal-devouring demon lion was no idiot. On the contrary, he was very intelligent. He had sworn the heavenly oath not to tangle with Ning Yu. But once Ning Yu died, then he would be able to get his hands on the pre-celestial nectar on Ning Yu. The metal-devouring demon lion did not believe that Ning Yu would be able to refine an entire pool of pre-celestial nectar. As the metal-devouring demon lion saw it, Ning Yu definitely had a container on him that stored all the nectar inside. You want to come with me as well? Hearing the metal-devouring demon lion's unreasonable request, Ning Yu frowned slightly, then said, Let's go! Wait a moment. After receiving Ning Yu's confirmation, the metal-devouring demon lion teleported into the cave. Whoosh! 3 minutes later, the metal-devouring demon lion flew out of the cave, satisfied. Luckily, this kid doesn't know where I hid my treasures. Otherwise, he would have taken everything. The metal-devouring demon lion was a little proud. He had hidden all the treasures he had plundered over the years in one place. That place was hidden from Ning Yu. The leaf-flaming condor is now severely injured. How confident are you that you can cure it? Ning Yu had just started when he stopped. At its peak, the leaf-flaming condor was a second-grade human supreme and a flying demonic beast. If he could tame the leaf-flaming condor, he would have another helper when he entered the core region of the magical beast mountain range. Cure the leaf-flaming condor? The metal-devouring demon lion was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled. The leaf-flaming condor's injuries are not serious. I just controlled it. Actually, the metal-devouring demon lion controlled the leaf-flaming condor to find out where the core of a 6th-grade human supreme was. Now that he knew that the core was in Ning Yu's hands, and Ning Yu wanted to cure the leaf-flaming condor, he might as well do Ning Yu a favor and cure the leaf-flaming condor. Swoosh! In the next moment, the metal-devouring demon lion opened its mouth, and a cold light flew out, directly entering the leaf-flaming condor's sea of consciousness. Boom! A loud sound rang in the leaf-flaming condor's sea of consciousness, and the leaf-flaming condor suddenly opened its eyes. At first, the leaf-flaming condor's eyes were filled with confusion. As time passed, the leaf-flaming condor's consciousness became clearer. Screech! In the end, the leaf-flaming condor could not help but let out a cry. You, the leaf-flaming condor stared at Ning Yu and said in surprise, The metal-devouring demon lion did not kill you. Why does the metal-devouring demon lion want to kill me? Ningyu curled his lips and said, You have two choices in front of you. First, make a heavenly oath and obey me. Second, die. As the word die fell, a terrifying aura emanated from Ningyu's body and suddenly pressed down on the leaf-flaming condor. Boom! The metal-devouring demon lion did not stay idle. He also unleashed his aura and cooperated with Ningyu to press down on the leaf-flaming condor. The leaf-flaming condor could not withstand Ningyu's aura alone, not to mention the addition of the metal-devouring demon lion's aura. Uft! The leaf-flaming condor spat out a mouthful of dark red blood, and its face became very ugly. I don't have time to tangle with you here, Ningyu said coldly. All right, I choose to obey. The leaf-flaming condor gritted its teeth and immediately made a heavenly oath. Between life and death, the leaf-flaming condor chose to live without a doubt. Death was not scary. What was scary was dying without knowing why and having a meaningless death. Therefore, the leaf-flaming condor chose to obey. Metal-devouring demon lion, you'll have to bear with it along the way. Treat the leaf-flaming condor and ensure that he can recover to his peak state as soon as possible. After he finished speaking, Ningyu stomped on the ground and his figure flashed out explosively. The leaf-flaming condor was a little dumbfounded. From Ningyu's words, he could basically determine the status of Ningyu and the metal-devouring demon lion. It seemed that the status of the metal-devouring demon lion was much lower than that of Ningyu. What are you waiting for? Are you looking for a beating? The metal-devouring demon lion could guess what the leaf-flaming condor was thinking. He snorted and said, Remember, from now on, the first person you obey is me, and the second is that kid. Whoosh! After teaching the leaf-flaming condor a lesson, the metal-devouring demon lion flashed and chased after Ningyu. The metal-devouring demon lion would not mistreat himself. Ningyu wanted him to treat the leaf-flaming condor? Impossible. This, looking at the back of the metal-devouring demon lion, the leaf-flaming condor was a little confused. Was the metal-devouring demon lion the greatest, or was it Ningyu? Chapter 9:21. Heartbroken serpent deep within the magical beast mountain range, at the border between the inner area and the forbidden area. Lu Wei paced back and forth as the worry on his face grew heavier. It had been 3 to 4 hours since Ningyu left. Lu Wei was able to calm himself down in the beginning, but as time passed he grew more and more worried, to the point that he was even slightly dazed. Don't worry, Ningyu will definitely return safely. The Dark Emperor was anxious as he watched Lu Wei's actions. Extreme mean body. If Lu Xuan continued to be so agitated, he might be in unpredictable danger. Dark Emperor, why don't you go take a look? Lu Wei said after a moment of silence. Me? The Dark Emperor pointed at his nose, and then he shook his head and said, That won't do. Ning, you personally told me to stay behind to protect you before he left. If I leave, then he'll skin me alive when he returns. But Lu Wei was still very worried as he clenched his teeth. There are no buts. The Dark Emperor interrupted Lu Wei and said in a deep voice, Ningyu is very strange. Nothing will happen to him. Ha ha ha. Dark Emperor, you know me the best. At this moment, a loud laughter came from afar. Then a figure streaked across the sky and appeared before Lu Wei and the rest in the blink of an eye. Ningyu. Seeing the familiar figure before them, Lu Wei and the rest were overjoyed. Ningyu, I thought you were killed by the flaming condor and the golden-eyed bull. The Dark Emperor sized up Ningyu for a while before shifting his gaze behind Ningyu and asked doubtfully, Where are the flaming condor and the golden-eyed bull? Don't tell me that you killed them all. The Li, flaming divine eagle, was a peak grade 2 human sovereign, while the golden-eyed bull was a grade 1 human sovereign. Although Ningyu had escaped back, the Dark Emperor did not believe that the Li fire divine eagle and the golden-eyed bull had been killed by Ningyu. From the Dark Emperor's point of view, Ning Yu had probably brought them around in a big circle before sneaking back. When did you become so smart? Ning Yu looked at the Dark Emperor with interest. He teased, I came back in a hurry this time. Otherwise, I would have definitely brought back the corpse of the golden-eyed bull. Forget it, you're just in blessed realm. Damn it. The Dark Emperor's words were filled with distrust. However, when Ning Yu unleashed his aura, the Dark Emperor immediately cursed. Later stage of the blessed realm. The Dark Emperor clearly remembered that Ning Yu was only at the middle stage of the creation realm 3 to 4 hours ago. How did he advance to the late stage of the creation realm in 3 to 4 hours? This speed of advancement was too fast, wasn't it? Gulp. In the distance, the Lightning Wolf King and Qin Xiang swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Based on Ning Yu's advancement speed, how could they survive? It was possible that they would be entangled with Ning Yu for the rest of their lives. Swish, swish. However, what shocked the Dark Emperor and the rest was yet to come. In the distance, two colossal beings suddenly tore through the void and flew over at an extremely shocking speed. Not good. Sensing the berserk aura emitted from the two colossal beings, the expressions of the Dark Emperor and the rest changed drastically as they prepared for battle. It's fine. The two of them are my friends. Ning Yu waved his hand, indicating for the Dark Emperor and the rest to calm down. Your friend. Hearing Ning Yu's words, the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King opened their mouths slightly, their faces filled with disbelief. These two colossal beings are actually your friends? Are you sure you're not joking? Let me introduce you. This is the gold-devouring demon lion, and this is the leaf-fire divine eagle. Ning Yu introduced. The leaf-fire divine eagle nodded, slightly in response. As for the gold-devouring demon lion, it turned its head away with an extremely arrogant expression. All right, let's continue our journey and try to enter the core area before daybreak. Ning Yu had already expected such a reaction from the Dark Emperor and the rest. He walked straight to the barrier and took out the red demon sword and slashed at the barrier. Chi-chi. After advancing to the late stage of the manifestation realm, Ning Yu's strength had increased by who knew how many times. The sword he slashed out was extremely powerful and easily created a gap in the barrier. Let's go. Ning Yu made a prompt decision and entered the barrier in a flash. Behind Ning Yu, Lu Wei and the rest followed closely. Rustle. In the inner region of the magical Beast Mountain Range, several figures were advancing at high speed. Needless to say, these figures were Ning Yu and the rest. With the gold-devouring demon lion leading the way, Ning Yu and the rest were moving at a high speed without any hesitation. The gold-devouring demon lion was a peak second-grade human supreme. Under the pressure of his powerful aura, all the demonic beasts in the inner region avoided him. In the inner region, both the gold-devouring demon lion and the leaf-fire divine eagle were overlord-level demonic beasts. There might be some hidden powerful demonic beasts in the inner region, but with the two of them working together, they could probably dominate the inner region. Even a third-grade, human, supreme, demonic beast would have to retreat. Passing through this broken intestine lake means entering the core area of the magical Beast Mountain Range. About an hour later, Ning Yu and the rest arrived at the entrance of the core area. Between the core area and the inner region, there was not a barrier but a lake. Is there any danger in the broken intestine lake? Ning Yu asked with a frown. He did not choose to cross the broken intestine lake immediately. Of course there is danger. The gold-devouring demon lion rolled its eyes at Ning Yu and said, There is a powerful demonic beast in the broken intestine lake called the Broken Intestine Dragon. It is a peak third-grade human supreme. Hiss! Hearing this, even though Ning Yu was prepared, he still gasped at this moment. The cultivation of a third-grade peak human supreme martial artist. Even if all of them worked together, they might not be able to fight against a demonic beast with such a cultivation. Don't worry. The gold-devouring demon lion said, "The broken intestine dragon has a hobby. As long as we can satisfy it, we will be able to cross the broken intestine lake smoothly." "Hey, can you not just say half of what you are saying?" Ning Yu said impatiently. "The broken intestine dragon's hobby is very special. It likes to eat humans," the gold-devouring demon lion continued. "As long as we throw a martial artist into the broken intestine lake for him to enjoy, he will let us pass through. The broken intestine dragon has this hobby. It wants to eat humans." Ning Yu's eyes widened. He felt that his brain was not enough to process this. Logically speaking, no one would pass through this place. How could the broken intestine dragon have this hobby? After some thought, Ning Yu said in a deep voice, "Gold-devouring demon lion, don't try to bluff me. Tell me the truth." The gold-devouring demon lion did not answer Ning Yu. Instead, it chose to close its eyes to rest. "Humph! What are you being so arrogant for?" The Dark Emperor snorted in his mind, a little annoyed by the gold-devouring demon lion's behavior. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed out from the broken intestine lake. The figure was huge, at least twice the size of the leaf-fire divine condor. The scariest thing was that the gigantic creature was holding a bloody head in its mouth. Chapter 922. Weakness. It's indeed a peak third-grade supreme. Ning Yu's expression darkened as he sensed the terrifying aura emitting from the heartbroken serpent dragon. Even if all of them teamed up, they would have a hard time dealing with the heartbroken serpent dragon. Of course, this was under the premise that Ning Yu did not utilize the law of space. If Ning Yu were to use the law of space, he would probably be on par with the heartbroken serpent dragon. Plop! The heartbroken serpent dragon tossed Yi Ming's head into the lake and spoke in a deep voice. "Offer your sacrifice, a human." Ning Yu's expression darkened. Strictly speaking, there were 3 people at the scene: Qin Xiang, Lu Wei, and Ning Yu. As for the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King, they were beasts and not humans. Out of the 3 of them, Ning Yu had to choose one of them as a sacrifice? Wasn't that *T? "There's no sacrifice," Ning Yu said in a deep voice. "No sacrifice?" The heartbroken serpent dragon was stunned for a moment before it spoke in a cold tone. "Then what are you waiting for? Get lost." Whoosh! The heartbroken flood dragon was truly worthy of being a pinnacle third-grade sovereign. Even his voice contained a violent shockwave. The Lightning Wolf King and the Dark Emperor were knocked back a few meters by the shockwave. The gold-devouring lion and the fire divine condor were able to stabilize themselves after taking a few steps back due to their strength. Whoosh! Ning Yu took a step forward and stood in front of Qin Xiang and Lu Wei, shielding them from the shockwave. "Heartbroken serpent dragon, we just want to enter the core area. As for the sacrifice, can we exchange it for something else?" The heartbroken serpent dragon's voice caused Ning Yu to make some concessions. With the law of space and the Emperor mid-grade phantom armor, Ning Yu was not too afraid of the heartbroken serpent dragon. However, the same could not be said for Lu Wei and the others. As long as the intestine breaker flood dragon decided to launch a sneak attack, even Ning Yu would not be able to withstand it. Therefore, Ning Yu still wanted to resolve this peacefully. "The sacrifice can only be humans, nothing else," the intestine-breaking dragon said coldly. "Ka-ka!" Ning Yu clenched his fists tightly, producing cracking sounds. If the gut-breaker flood dragon refused to back down, Ning Yu would have to fight it out with him. As for Lu Wei and Qin Xiang, Ning Yu decided to let them take refuge in his storage ring. In truth, Ning Yu did not want to expose the fact that the storage ring could store people. However, if the intestine breaker dragon refused to budge, Ning Yu had no choice but to expose the storage ring. "Intestine severing flood dragon, I remember you saying that there are 2 conditions to cross the intestine severing lake. First, offer up an offering. Second, take 3 moves from you." At this moment, the metal-devouring demon lion stepped forward and said, "Metal-devouring demon lion." The intestine breaker flood dragon's powerful voice resounded. He stared at the metal-devouring demon lion and said in a low voice, "You are only a peak second grade human supreme. Do you want to take 3 moves from me? If that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. Intestine breaker flood dragon, you may have misunderstood. I do not want to enter the core area of the magical beast mountain range. He wants to go there. Therefore, he is the one who will take 3 moves from you, not me." The metal-devouring demon lion shook his head and pointed at Ningyu. Whoosh! Hearing this, the intestine breaker flood dragon's eyes flashed with ferocity. The intestine breaker flood dragon was very perceptive. He could easily tell that Ningyu was in the late stage of the manifestation realm. He was a peak 3rd grade human supreme, while Ningyu was only in the late stage of the manifestation realm. There was no comparison between the two. To be honest, in his opinion, he didn't even need to use 10% of his strength to kill Ningyu. "Brat, you want to take 3 moves from me?" Although the intestine breaker flood dragon did not think highly of Ningyu, he was the one who set the conditions for passing through the intestine breaker lake. "If I can pass through the intestine breaker lake after taking 3 moves from you, it's not impossible." Ningyu was already prepared to fight the intestine breaker flood dragon. Who would have thought that there would be a twist? Taking 3 moves from the intestine breaker flood dragon was much easier than fighting it to the death. "All right, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Whoosh! The intestine breaker flood dragon dived into the intestine breaker lake and soared into the sky. The lake water fell from the intestine breaker flood dragon's body, creating ripples on the surface of the lake. Ningyu's eyes turned cold. He stomped on the ground and dashed out. Solitaire. Ningyu knew that the intestine breaker flood dragon was very powerful. He did not wait for his death. Instead, he held the red fiend sword and slashed out a few sword waves. Flood dragon goes to sea. The intestine breaker flood dragon's huge tail whipped at Ningyu. "TSK! TSK!" The few solitaire in front of Ningyu did not gain any advantage against the intestine breaker flood dragon's tail. Instead, they were shattered in an instant. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the intestine breaker flood dragon's tail landed on Ningyu's chest. A crisp sound was heard. The huge force on his chest made Ningyu's expression change. His body fell straight to the surface of the lake. Plop! The result was not out of the intestine breaker flood dragon's expectation. Ningyu fell into the intestine breaker lake completely. Waves spread out in all directions. Ningyu. Seeing Ningyu fall into the intestine breaker lake, the Dark Emperor and the others' expressions changed. Fear appeared on their faces. He's so useless. Beside him, the gold-devouring demon lion looked terrible. The reason why the gold-devouring demon lion told Ningyu the second condition to pass through the intestine breaker lake was that he wanted Ningyu to be defeated and killed. As long as Ningyu was killed, he could take away the innate spiritual due from Ningyu. However, what happened made the gold-devouring demon lion furious. The intestine breaker lake was the intestine breaker flood dragon's territory. None of the martial artists killed by the intestine breaker flood dragon were spared. They were all devoured by it. Initially, the gold-devouring demon lion thought that Ningyu would be able to withstand one move and die from his injuries. Who would have thought that Ningyu would be killed in the first move? Boring. After the intestine breaker flood dragon killed Ningyu casually, it curled its lips and said in disdain, "I only used 10% of my strength to kill him." Is that so? However, just as the intestine breaker flood dragon was about to return to the intestine breaker lake, it heard a faint voice. Whoosh! Then, a skinny figure dashed out from the bottom of the intestine breaker lake. "What? You're not dead. Seeing the skinny figure floating in the air, the intestine breaker flood dragon's eyes widened, and its face was filled with disbelief. One must know that even though he had only used 10% of his strength, 10% of his strength was more than enough to kill a half-step Supreme Being. Even an ordinary grade 1 Supreme Realm martial artist might not be able to block it. Why did this martial artist in the later stage of the creation realm in front of him have such great ability to block his attack and not be killed? Dead. Ningyu curled his lips and said, "How could you kill me with 10% of your strength? I entered the bottom of the lake on purpose." Entered on purpose? Oh no. The intestine breaker flood dragon frowned and sent a portion of its perception into the bottom of the lake. Suddenly its expression changed. The thing you're looking for is in there. Chapter 9:23. Chapter 9:23. Serpent Egg Crack. The heartbroken serpent gritted its teeth when it saw the spatial ring in Ningyu's hand. It was deceived by this human. As the saying goes, it's not that one is too weak, but the enemy is too strong. The heartbroken serpent dragon said coldly, "What do you want to do to return it to me?" "Simple. Let us pass through the heartbroken lake." Ningyu shrugged. "Fine. I'll allow you to pass through the heartbroken lake." The heartbroken serpent dragon said fiercely, "Dark Emperor, bring Lu Wei and the others over first." Ningyu turned around and said to the Dark Emperor and the others, "Buzz." However, Ningyu's action of turning around gave the heartbroken serpent dragon an opportunity. The heartbroken serpent dragon tore through space and arrived beside Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Die. The heartbroken serpent dragon used its giant claw to grab at Ningyu's head. Compared to Ningyu, the heartbroken serpent dragon was many times larger. Just a single claw was bigger than Ningyu's entire body. "Humph, I knew you would do this." Although Ningyu turned around, he was still paying attention to the heartbroken serpent dragon's movements. Ningyu did not dare to be careless when facing the heartbroken serpent dragon, who was at the pinnacle of the third grade human sovereign realm. Ningyu would not allow himself to be distracted for even a fraction of a second. Life and death palm. At the crucial moment, Ningyu poured all the energy in his divine sense into his wrist and clashed with the heartbroken serpent dragon's palm. Bang! The two collided. A crisp sound rang out. Then Ningyu was knocked back dozens of meters like a kite with a broken string. Uft! Ningyu spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. "Everyone, let's attack together. I don't believe we can't kill him," the Dark Emperor said fiercely when he saw Ningyu's miserable state. "Stop!" Ningyu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and berated the Dark Emperor, saying coldly, "I have something on him, so he doesn't dare to act rashly." "Don't dare to act rashly? He almost killed you," the Dark Emperor said anxiously. The Dark Emperor did not believe that the handle in Ningyu's hands was of any use. Think about it. If Ningyu's weakness was useful, would the intestine-breaking flood dragon still dare to ambush him? The answer was obviously no. "Ningyu, in my opinion, we should attack together. That way, we might have a chance of survival." The Dark Emperor felt that he should wake Ningyu up, so he hurriedly said. However, before the Dark Emperor could finish his words, his eyes widened as he stared at the big guy in Ningyu's hand. Gulp! At this moment, the Dark Emperor finally understood why Ningyu did not let him make a move. The handle in Ningyu's hands was enough to make the intestine-breaking flood dragon hesitate to attack. Intestine-breaking flood dragon, if you want to see me smash it, you can ambush me. Ningyu raised the flood dragon egg with one hand and said calmly, "My hand is injured. I might throw it away at any time." The intestine-breaking flood dragon's eyes were fixed on the flood dragon egg in Ningyu's hand. His eyes filled with ferocity. Although the intestine-breaking flood dragon was furious and wanted to attack, he knew that he had lost the best opportunity to do so. Since the sneak attack earlier failed to kill Ningyu, it was unrealistic for him to attack later on. Ningyu must be prepared, given that he could only choose to compromise. I agree to let you pass through the intestine-breaking lake, but you have to return the flood dragon egg to me first. The intestine-breaking flood dragon said coldly. Hee, I don't think you understand. Ningyu smiled and said, we will definitely pass through the intestine-breaking lake. I won't return the flood dragon egg to you first. Return the flood dragon egg to the intestine-breaking flood dragon? Ningyu was not that stupid. He had gone through so much trouble and even burned his blood essence to hide his senses, just to find out what was at the bottom of the lake. His efforts paid off. Ningyu finally found a flood dragon egg at the bottom of the lake. Ningyu knew that as long as he could get his hands on the flood dragon egg, he would definitely be able to pass through the intestine-breaking lake. Therefore, Ningyu showed an opening and entered the intestine-breaking lake to get his hands on the flood dragon egg. Don't go too far. The intestine-breaking flood dragon said coldly after hearing Ningyu's words. Forget it if you're unwilling. As he spoke, Ningyu bent his wrist slightly, trying to throw the flood dragon egg away. Fine, you win. I'll let you guys pass. With Ningyu holding on to its weakness, the intestine-breaking flood dragon had no choice but to compromise. It opened its mouth and spat out a huge water pillar. The water column split the broken intestine lake into two, causing the broken intestine lake to split in the middle, creating a narrow passage. Let's go. As soon as the passage appeared, Ningyu grabbed Lu Wei's shoulder and dashed to the other side of the intestine-breaking lake at a shocking speed. Swoosh! 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 Lightning Wolf King, Qin Xiang, and the Dark Emperor followed closely behind Ningyu. Damn it! Seeing Ningyu and the others leaving, the metal-devouring lion could not help but curse. The plan had failed. The intestine-breaking flood dragon's failure to kill Ningyu had probably raised Ningyu's guard. It would be hard to get another chance like this in the future. Although it was angry, the metal-devouring lion would not stay where it was. Its figure flashed, and it dashed out. The intestine-breaking lake was not too big. Ningyu and the others only took a minute to reach the other side of the lake, which was the core region of the magical Beast mountain range. Buzz, buzz! As soon as they stepped into the core region, Ningyu felt a thick wave of essence chi. There were 3 regions in the depths of the magical Beast mountain range: the Forbidden region, the Inner region, and the core region. Among them, the density of essence chi in the Forbidden region and the Inner region was not even a tenth of that in the core region. Cultivating in the core region could yield twice the results with half the effort. Return the flood dragon egg to me. At this moment, the intestine-breaking flood dragon's cold voice reached Ningyu's ears. Ningyu did not return the egg to the intestine-breaking flood dragon immediately. Instead, he frowned and murmured, "It seems like the intestine-breaking flood dragon is afraid of something. Don't worry so much. Let's hurry up and leave before the intestine-breaking flood dragon goes berserk." The Dark Emperor did not care what the intestine-breaking flood dragon was afraid of. He wanted to leave as soon as possible. There is a restriction around the intestine-breaking lake. The intestine-breaking flood dragon cannot leave the intestine-breaking lake. The gold-devouring demon lion's voice rang out. Hearing this, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and looked at the gold-devouring demon lion meaningfully. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he threw the flood dragon egg to the intestine-breaking flood dragon. Pa! The intestine-breaking flood dragon swept its tail, stirring up a stream of water and catching the flood dragon egg firmly. Oh, right. A reminder. Originally, Ningyu wanted to leave. However, before he left, he felt that he had to warn the intestine-breaking flood dragon. Under normal circumstances, there is no way to hatch your flood dragon egg. If you want to hatch it, use Ning Yu's last sentence was directed to the intestine-breaking flood dragon. Only the intestine-breaking flood dragon could hear it. Let's go. With that, Ning Yu left without looking back and headed for the depths of the core region. The heartbroken flood dragon's eyes were filled with gratitude as it watched Ning Yu's back. I owe you one. Chapter 924. Wind and Clouds Rustle. The rising sun shone through the dense forest and onto the ground, adding some mysteriousness to the tranquil forest. Let's rest here for a while. The palace should be nearby. In the core region of the magical Beast Mountain range, several figures slowed down their steps, but they were still highly focused and did not dare to relax. The most dangerous place in the magical Beast Mountain range was the core region. Even though the metal-devouring lion and fire divine condor were both pinnacle second-grade sovereign realm demonic beasts, they did not dare to behave atrociously in the core region and could only find a place to rest. The core region of the magical Beast Mountain range was filled with ferocious beasts, and every single one of them was a top-notch existence. Fortunately, Ning Yu's perception was relatively strong, and he was extremely sensitive to ferocious beasts. Within a radius of several miles, as long as there was a demonic beast with a cultivation above second-grade sovereign realm, he would be able to detect it immediately, which saved him a lot of unnecessary trouble. Ning Yu, we shouldn't stay here for long. Qin Xiang said, the core region is different from other places. Not only are the demonic beasts powerful, but they also have weird personalities. Even if you don't provoke them, they will come for you. The safest place in the core region is the surroundings of the palace. Demonic beasts below third-grade sovereign realm would not dare to approach there. Holy shit! The Dark Emperor couldn't help cursing. You're saying that the weakest demonic beasts around the palace are at least third-grade sovereign realm? Then wouldn't we be sending ourselves to our deaths? Qin Xiang cast a disdainful glance at the Dark Emperor and continued. There's still an hour before daybreak. In this hour, all the demonic beasts above third-grade sovereign realm will be resting. You, the Dark Emperor's face, turned ugly after being rebuked by Qin Xiang. All right, let's follow Qin Xiang's words and continue forward. Ning Yu did not refute Qin Xiang's suggestion. In fact, he was also curious along the way, as he did not encounter any demonic beasts above second-grade sovereign realm. This didn't make sense in the core region of the magical Beast Mountain range. Whoosh! 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 As soon as he said they would leave, Ning Yu and the others immediately rose into the air, once more heading towards the depths of the mountain range of magical beasts. The facts proved that what Qin Xiang said was not wrong. About half an hour later, Ning Yu and the others finally passed through a dense forest and arrived at the back of a huge mountain. Is that the palace? A look of astonishment flashed across Ning Yu's eyes as he stared at the palace that was surrounded by several huge mountains. To tell the truth, Ning Yu had been extremely shocked to learn that there were mountains deep within the mountain range of magical beasts. Moreover, there was actually an extremely luxurious palace within the mountains. This caused Ning Yu to be even more shocked. Yes, but now is not the right time. Qin Xiang slightly frowned and said, Let's find a place to hide first. It's not safe here. Ning Yu nodded in agreement after hearing Qin Xiang's words. With Ning Yu's soul perception, he could naturally sense that there were several powerful yuan qi fluctuations at the entrance of the palace. Whoosh! Whoosh! Just as Ning Yu and the others hid, several figures suddenly cut through the void and appeared at the entrance of the palace. Ning Yu's gaze swept across and finally landed on a middle-aged man. It was not because Ning Yu knew the middle-aged man, but because the middle-aged man was emitting an aura that made him feel fearful. Such a powerful yuan qi fluctuation clearly indicated that he had reached the third-grade mortal supreme realm. Yinhua! Ning Yu's gaze shifted and landed on a cultivator beside the middle-aged man. This cultivator's aura was slightly weaker than the middle-aged man's, and his cultivation was also at the first-grade mortal supreme realm. Ning Yu's expression was a little grave. Since Yin Hua was here, then this third-grade mortal supreme realm must be someone from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Investigate. We must get to the bottom of this matter. At this moment, Yin Hua seemed to be reporting something to the middle-aged man. Hearing Yin Hua's words, the middle-aged man's expression instantly darkened. Supremacy Yun Tian's death is not to be regretted, but the golden box on him must not be lost. The middle-aged man's expression was extremely cold and gloomy to the extreme. Supremacy Yun Tian was only a peak, first-grade, mortal supreme realm. His death was not a big loss to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. However, the golden box on Supremacy Yun Tian was a treasure. The item inside was the key to obtaining the Dharma treasure from the palace, so it must not be lost. Swoosh! At this moment, the rumbling sound of wind breaking suddenly resounded in the distant sky. The moment the sound was heard, Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat. He could feel that the yuan qi in this area seemed to be boiling. Evil dragon supremacy. The middle-aged man beside Yin Hua looked at the figure that suddenly appeared and couldn't help but look a little grave. The cold light cut through the void and stirred up the yuan qi of heaven and earth. This aura was unusually frightening. Even the middle-aged man who had reached the third-grade mortal supreme realm could not help but gasp at this moment. Spirit Cauldron Venerable, how have you been? The old man, who was called Evil Dragon Supremacy, laughed as he landed before the palace. It's been a long time. You've actually reached the third-grade mortal supreme realm. Not bad, not bad. Evil Dragon Supremacy, I never expected that your corpse sect would also interfere. Spirit Cauldron Venerable coldly said. What interference? Treasures belong to the virtuous. Could it be that only your Supreme Nine Purities Temple can come and my corpse sect can't? Evil Dragon Supremacy waved his hand. Ha ha ha, Evil Dragon Supremacy is right. Suddenly, several figures tore through the void and landed in front of everyone. The old man leading them laughed wildly. Treasures belong to the virtuous. We can't let the Supreme Nine Purities Temple monopolize them, right? Blood God Palace, Blood Slayer Venerable. Spirit Cauldron Venerable's expression was ugly. Although he had guessed that the Blood God Palace and Corpse Sect would send someone over, he never expected that the two sects would send someone with such high cultivation. He had just reached the third-grade mortal sovereign realm, while Evil Dragon Supremacy and Blood Slayer Venerable were veteran third-grade mortal sovereigns. Cut the crap. Since everyone's here, let's discuss how to break the palace. Taking a deep breath, Spirit Cauldron Venerable faintly said, You guys should know that we have to gather all 3 keys to break the palace. As he spoke, Spirit Cauldron Venerable flicked his wrist, and a golden key suddenly appeared in his hand. What 3 keys and 4 keys? In my opinion, there's nothing special about this door. Why don't we attack together and blast it open? Just when Spirit Cauldron Venerable finished his words, Evil Dragon Supremacy's eerie voice resounded with great confidence. This Chapter 925. 6-winged, sky-soaring, Python 4 keys were indeed required to open the palace. However, the palace was extremely unstable, so they might be able to forcefully break it open. All right, let's work together to break open the gate. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron said after a brief pondering. The reason why the Venerable Spirit Cauldron didn't want to use the keys to open the gate was because the keys had many other uses. For example, opening the doors of the palace, breaking some arrays, etc. Among the 3 forces, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron's side was the weakest, so he had to think of a way out. What are you waiting for? The Venerable Evil Dragon coldly snorted as he stomped on the ground and clenched his right hand into a fist. His figure turned into an afterimage as a massive fist light was formed and he flew out. Boom! The fist radiance swept through the air, bringing with it a series of low explosive sounds in the air, its aura abnormally terrifying. Whoosh! Since the venerable evil dragon had already made his move, the venerable spirit cauldron and venerable bloodslayer did not remain idle. They clenched their teeth and formed seals. In the next moment, two violent energy fluctuations were formed and shot towards the gate of the palace. The gate is about to be broken open. In midair, the three violent attacks collided with each other. Under Ning Yu's gaze, they heavily bombarded the palace's door. However, as soon as the three violent attacks landed on the door, something strange happened. Crack! The door of the palace suddenly shattered, and a terrifying pillar of light soared into the sky, easily dispelling the three violent attacks. Seeing this, the faces of the venerable spirit cauldron and the rest drastically changed. Roar! In the next moment, an earth-shattering roar resounded from the palace, mixed with desolation and irritation. Not good. It's a fourth-grade sovereign realm demonic beast. Hearing that voice, the faces of the venerable spirit cauldron and the rest turned dark, and they immediately retreated without any hesitation. Actually, it was no wonder that the venerable spirit cauldron and the rest were fleeing. A fourth-grade sovereign realm demonic beast was something that the three of them might not be able to deal with even if they joined hands. Not to mention that they couldn't deal with it. Even if they could, they wouldn't foolishly stay behind. After all, they were here to search for treasures, not to fight with demonic beasts. Whoosh! 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 Not only did the three venerable spirit cauldron escape, the cultivators that they brought along also immediately executed their trump cards and fled. Voila! The shock wave brought about by the roar was especially strong. With the palace as the center, all the trees within a radius of several miles were uprooted. Buzz! However, the roar left as quickly as it came. In just a dozen or so seconds, it completely disappeared from the world. After another hour or so, the Venerable One and the others carefully returned to the main entrance of the palace. This fourth-grade human supreme realm demonic beast should be trapped. The venerable evil dragon frowned as he slightly released his perception. I agree. Venerable blood destruction nodded his head and added, if I'm not mistaken, this fourth-grade human sovereign realm demonic beast was trapped by the creator of the palace. What should we do? Venerable spirit cauldron frowned slightly and said, you're like a girl. What else can you do? Now that the palace gate has been opened, do you still want to stay here and be afraid? The venerable evil dragon looked fearless as he spoke in disdain. Thereafter, his figure flashed, and he was the first to charge into the palace. Venerable spirit cauldron and venerable blood destruction fixed their eyes on the venerable evil dragon. They wanted to see if the venerable evil dragon would be in danger. Boom! Roughly 3 seconds later, the venerable evil dragon had just charged into the palace when he was blasted out by a powerful force. Uft! The venerable evil dragon fell heavily on the ground and spewed a mouthful of blood with his face turning extremely dark. Boom! 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 Before the venerable spirit cauldron and the rest could be shocked, a few heavy footsteps resounded from the palace. Not long after, a colossal figure appeared in everyone's sight. Hiss! Looking at the colossal figure at the entrance of the palace, the venerable spirit cauldron and the rest sucked in a cold breath. Six-winged sky, soaring python. Amongst the 8th grade demonic beasts, the six-winged sky soaring python had already surpassed the initial 8th grade and reached the middle 8th grade. The ranks of demonic beasts corresponded to the cultivation of humans. Initial 8th grade demonic beasts corresponded to 1st grade to 3rd grade human sovereigns. Middle 8th grade demonic beasts corresponded to 4th grade to 6th grade human sovereigns. Late 8th grade demonic beasts corresponded to 7th grade to 9th grade human sovereigns. A middle 8th grade six-winged sky soaring python strength had reached pinnacle 4th grade human sovereigns. Even its comprehensive battle prowess was comparable to a 5th grade human sovereign. The Beast King Palace is not to be trespassed by unauthorized personnel. A majestic voice came from the mouth of the six-winged sky soaring python, filled with killing intent. Six-winged sky soaring python. Since you did not kill all of us immediately, it means that there must be a way to enter the Beast King Palace. Clearly, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the rest came prepared. They had already investigated all possibilities before coming. Hearing that, the six-winged sky soaring python's gaze shifted and locked onto the Venerable Spirit Cauldron. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the six-winged sky soaring python looked at each other. After a long while, the six-winged sky soaring python said in a deep voice, "You're right. There is indeed a way to enter the Beast King Palace. Take a move from me." Initially, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the rest felt relieved when they heard the six-winged sky soaring python's words. But when they heard the six-winged sky soaring python's words, their faces turned ugly to the extreme. Take a move from you? What a joke! You're a middle 8th grade demonic beast. Who here can take a move from you? There's another way. Perhaps it had guessed what the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the rest were thinking. The six-winged sky soaring python waved its hand and a crack appeared on the ground. Crack! Not long after, an ancient battle stage slowly rose from the ground. Rustle! The moment the ancient battle stage appeared, several silhouettes tore through the void and appeared on the stage. If you want to enter the palace, you must go up and defeat these puppets. The six-winged sky soaring python pointed at the silhouettes on the ancient battle stage and said, "Holy shit!" When the Dark Emperor saw the puppets on the ancient battle stage, he couldn't help cursing. This is called a puppet? Holy shit, isn't this too exaggerated? This is clearly the little six-winged sky soaring python. The Dark Emperor felt that his brain was a little insufficient. What is the six-winged sky soaring python trying to do? Ningyu frowned. Honestly speaking, he had no idea what the six-winged sky soaring python was trying to do. The strength of the little six-winged sky soaring python on the ancient battle stage was at most equivalent to a half-step honorable. Who could the six-winged sky soaring python stop? Let alone a powerful martial artist like the Venerable Spirit Cauldron. Even Yin Hua and the rest could easily defeat it. The six-winged sky soaring python was clearly pushing the little sky soaring pythons into a pit of fire. Look, someone's going up. At this moment, the Dark Emperor pointed at the ancient battle stage and exclaimed, Chapter 926. Chaotic Battle Rustle. Beside Yin Hua, a late-phase manifestation realm cultivator stepped on the ground and instantly flew onto the battle stage. He was ranked in the top 50 of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple's Genius ranking. Jian Chong of the late-phase manifestation realm. Jian Chong wasn't the strongest in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, but he was the most courageous. You bunch of six-winged flying pythons. How can you? Jian Chong coldly snorted as he flew onto the battle stage. However, before Jian Chong could finish his arrogant words, his expression changed drastically and he immediately retreated backwards. Boom! A crisp sound rang out as Jian Chong crashed into the transparent barrier at the edge of the battle stage. Whoosh! 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 Shortly after, several figures flew out and devoured Jian Chong in the blink of an eye. What? Below the battle stage, Yin Hua and the rest had a drastic change in their faces when they saw Jian Chong's miserable state. Although Jian Chong's cultivation was only in the late phase manifestation realm, his fighting strength was extremely powerful. How did he turn into nothingness before he could even withstand a single move? Rustle! Jian Chong was so easily killed and devoured, leaving a shadow in the hearts of many cultivators. Devour! Ning Yu's face turned ugly when he saw what happened on the battle stage from afar. Ning, you had some understanding of Jian Chong's strength. After all, he had fought with the Dark Emperor before. Even a powerful cultivator like Jian Chong was killed in a single move. Thus, one could tell how many people could pass the test. Furthermore, what shocked Ningyu the most was that only a lesser six-winged flying python made a move. There were a total of 6 lesser flying pythons on the battle stage. If all 6 lesser flying pythons made a move, even a first-grade sovereign would be instantly killed. Gulp. The Dark Emperor swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, Ningyu, what should we do? What else can we do? Let's wait and see. After pondering for a brief moment, Ningyu said, since the 6-winged sky-soaring pythons have set the rules, that means that there must be a way to break it. Don't forget that the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the rest are all 3rd-grade sovereigns. If they were to step up, they would probably be able to instantly turn the 6 six-winged sky-soaring pythons into dregs. Nodding his head, the Dark Emperor said, that's true. The strength of a 3rd-grade sovereign is indeed terrifying. Whoosh! At that moment, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron stepped on the ground and rushed out. Judging from the situation, Venerable Spirit Cauldron was going to take action personally. Humph! You want to get involved in a fight between juniors? Before the Venerable Spirit Cauldron could rush onto the platform, the 6-winged sky-soaring python snorted coldly and said in a deep voice, your opponent is me. Hua! The Venerable Spirit Cauldron originally wanted to end the battle quickly, but when he heard that 6-winged Descendant Sage was busy, he had no choice but to change his strategy and instantly stopped in midair. 6-winged sky-soaring python, you're clearly doing this to prevent us from entering the Beast King's palace. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron's face was unsightly. If they couldn't enter the Beast King's palace, then it would be a great loss for the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. To obtain the treasures in the Beast King's palace, the Supreme 9 Purities Temple had paid a great price. Don't be so stubborn. I've given you guys a chance. Defeat me and enter the Beast King's palace. Otherwise, get lost. The 6-winged sky-soaring python sneered. Don't be too pleased. The evil dragon sovereign took a step forth and said, 6-winged sky-soaring python, we admit that you're powerful, but we're not to be trifled with. That's right. The 3 of us are 3rd-grade sovereigns. Although we can't kill you, we can still hold you back for a few minutes. Venerable Blood Destruction's face revealed a ferocious expression as he continued. Once we hold you back, the cultivators that we've brought will be able to annihilate these lesser 6-winged sky-soaring pythons. Venerable Blood Destruction pointed at the 6 lesser sky-soaring pythons on the platform. Threaten me. The 6-winged sky-soaring python emitted its aura and violently pressured towards Venerable Blood Destruction and the rest. Join hands. Although Venerable Blood Destruction and the Spirit Cauldron Venerable were enemies, they had put aside their former enmity and joined hands in the face of life and death. Boom! Venerable Blood Destruction and the rest instantly clashed with the 6-winged sky-soaring python. 3 3rd-grade sovereigns against a mid-phase 8th-grade 6-winged sky-soaring python. Initially, there wasn't any suspense in this battle. No one knew what was going on, but the 2 sides were actually evenly matched, with no one gaining any advantage. Ningyu, this 6-winged sky-soaring python, seems to be injured. The Dark Emperor had been paying attention to what was happening before the Beast King's palace. Seeing that the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the rest were actually evenly matched with the 6-winged sky-soaring python, the Dark Emperor felt that it was a little unbelievable. He's indeed injured, and it's not a light injury either. At this moment, Ningyu took the opportunity when the 6-winged sky-soaring python wasn't paying attention and started to examine it. But when he looked, Ningyu was shocked. In his previous life, Ningyu also had some understanding of demonic beasts. For a mid-phase 8th grade demonic beast like the six-winged sky-soaring python, unless it was a fatal injury, there wouldn't be such a huge drop in its fighting strength. From the battle, Ningyu could tell that the six-winged sky-soaring python's fighting strength had dropped by at least half, if not more. Look, Yinhua and the rest have also made their move. Suddenly, the Lightning Wolf King pointed at Yinhua and the rest. Rustle, 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 before the Beast King's palace. A group of people led by Yinhua began to launch powerful attacks against the lesser sky-soaring pythons on the stage. Uft, uft, uft. The combat power of the lesser flying pythons was still very terrifying. Some warriors whose cultivation was lower than the later stage of the creation realm were killed the moment they fought with them. Whoosh! Amongst the crowd, there were only 3 cultivators that could confront the six-winged sky-soaring pythons head-on. On the side of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, Yinhua's fighting strength was naturally the strongest, and he was on par with a lesser sky-soaring python. On the side of the Blood God Palace, a long-haired young man's fighting strength was especially terrifying. He fought against 2 lesser sky-soaring pythons without being at a disadvantage. On the side of the Corpsine sect, a short-haired man blocked a lesser sky-soaring python. 3 powerful geniuses fought against 4 lesser sky-soaring pythons. The rest of the cultivators dealt with the remaining 2 lesser sky-soaring pythons. The situation on the 2 battlefields was very similar. The balance of the battle was very even, and there was no sign of tilting towards one side. Obviously, at this time, if a new force joined the battle, this balance could be broken in an instant. Ha ha ha. Speak of the devil and he will appear. The battle only lasted for 3 minutes before it was interrupted by a burst of wild laughter. Rustle. Immediately, several sounds of wind breaking were heard. Then the crowd saw several cultivators tearing the void and appearing in front of the Beast King's palace. There were a total of 5 people, 3 men and 2 women. The 2 women's cultivation was not low, and they were both first-grade human supreme. However, one was at the early first-grade human supreme, and the other was at the peak first-grade human supreme. Among the 3 men, 2 were at the peak manifestation realm, and 1 was at the first-grade human supreme. Ningyu knew all of these cultivators. They all came from the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. Chapter 927. Inexplicable Participation. Friend, hurry up and kill these 6-winged sky-soaring pythons. Seeing Zhu Zhen and the others appear, the evil dragon sovereign was overjoyed. Now that both sides were evenly matched, whichever side had more reinforcements would win, and the strength of Zhu Zhen and the others could undoubtedly change the battle situation. Kill the sky-soaring pythons? Zhu Zhen was not an idiot. No matter what, he was the saint son of the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch. His intelligence was not too low. He did not reply to the evil dragon sovereign's words, but carefully observed. Mid-rank, 8-winged sky-soaring python. The little sky-soaring python's strength was limited, so Zhu Zhen did not pay attention to it. His gaze fell on the 6-winged sky-soaring python. It seems to be injured. Zhu Zhen's perception was also very strong. He easily determined that the 6-winged sky-soaring python was injured. After all, a mid-rank 8-winged sky-soaring python's strength could not be so weak. What are you waiting for? If you want to enter the Beast King Palace, you must kill all these monsters. Seeing Zhu Zhen hesitate, the evil dragon's sovereign angrily said, "Otherwise, no one will be able to enter the Beast King Palace." TCH, I'm not a fool. Zhu Zhen curled his lips and then said to the 2 peak manifestation realm martial artists beside him, "You 2 enter the Beast King Palace first. I'll be right behind you." This, hearing Zhu Zhen's words, the 2 peak manifestation realm martial artists' mouths fell open, their bodies wavering. If they wanted to enter the Beast King Palace, they had to pass through the battlefield. With their peak manifestation realm cultivation, passing through such a terrifying battlefield was no different from courting death. Humph! You don't even listen to me. Zhu Zhen's expression instantly turned cold. The 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's punishment can shwa. When Zhu Zhen said the word punishment, the 2 peak manifestation realm martial artists' mouths twitched. They immediately rose from the ground, bracing themselves as they rushed out. Zhu Zhen, aren't you sending them to their deaths? Beside him, Yun Mu frowned. Although the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch is very powerful, they will be finished sooner or later. Finished sooner or later. Are you sure you're not kidding me? Zhu Zhen shrugged his shoulders. He disdainfully said, let's not talk about whether or not the 2 of them will die. Even if we take 10,000 steps back, even if they die, it won't have any effect on the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch. As long as I obtain the Beast King's treasure, I can unify the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion. At that time, Puchi! Before Zhu Zhen could finish his sentence, 2 clear voices entered his ears. What? Zhu Zhen turned to look. Zhu Zhen's face darkened as he looked at the 2 martial artists at the peak of the manifestation realm who had been killed before they could even reach the Beast King's palace. Your friend was killed by the 6-winged sky python. If you want revenge, you should look for it. At this moment, the evil dragon Venerable's voice rang out. Ka-ka! Zhu Zhen's fists were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. The coldness on his face was especially obvious. 6-winged sky-soaring python, I didn't provoke you, but you came to provoke me. Zhu Zhen took a deep breath, rose from the ground, and charged into the battlefield. F***CK. The evil dragon Venerable and the others could not help but curse when they saw the direction Zhu Zhen was charging in. Zhu Zhen was too smart, wasn't he? The battlefield he joined was not their side, but the lesser flying pythons. With Zhu Zhen's participation, the balance of the lesser flying pythons was broken. Soon, one of the lesser flying pythons was severely injured. Aunt Yin, should we make a move? Yun Mu frowned as he looked at Zhu Zhen galloping in the battlefield. There's no need. Aunt Yin shook her head and said, we'll just watch the tigers fight and preserve our strength for now. Rumble. At this moment, Zhu Zhen seized the opportunity and killed a lesser flying python in one blow. Roar. Although the 6-winged sky-soaring python was fighting with the evil dragon Venerable and the others, he was furious when a lesser flying python was killed. However, despite being furious, there was nothing the 6-winged sky-soaring python could do. The evil dragon Venerable, the spirit cauldron Venerable, and the blood slayer Venerable. The pressure from these 3 powerful martial artists made it hard for him to breathe. It's over. This time, the 6-winged sky-soaring python race will be finished. Behind the mountain, the Dark Emperor shook his head in pity. After all, the 6-winged sky-soaring python was a demonic beast just like him. Now that it was surrounded by the Incorp sect, the Blood God Palace, and the Supreme 9 Purities Temple, the Dark Emperor was naturally furious. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If it wasn't for the fear of the Blood God Palace, the Dark Emperor would have already made a move. It's not that simple. Ning Yu saw things more clearly than the Dark Emperor. No matter what, the 6-winged sky-soaring python was a mid-8th rank demonic beast. It wouldn't be killed so easily. Once a demonic beast reached the mid-8th rank, its strength would increase qualitatively. Although the evil dragon Venerable and the others were 3rd-grade sovereign, it was harder than ascending the heavens for them to kill a 6-winged sky-soaring python. Ningyu, what should we do? Should we continue to wait? The Dark Emperor asked hesitantly. Wait. Don't be anxious. If we go down now, we'll only become live targets. Ningyu shook his head and said, Hearing Ningyu's words, not only was the Dark Emperor a little disappointed, even the Lightning Wolf King and the metal-devouring Demon Lion revealed disappointed expressions. Attack! However, the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King's disappointment did not last for long. They saw Ningyu stomping on the ground and charging out like a bolt of lightning. What's going on? Seeing Ningyu make a move, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth, slightly in disbelief. Did the sun rise from the west? Why did Ningyu make a move without any warning? In the past, it was impossible for Ningyu to get involved in such matters. What should we do? The Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King looked at each other and could see the shock in each other's eyes. What else can we do? Attack with all your might and help the six-winged sky soaring python. Just as the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King spoke, Ningyu's voice sounded in their ears. Forget it, let's go. The Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King gritted their teeth and rushed out, charging towards the Beast King Palace. The metal-devouring Demon Lion hesitated for a moment, then followed closely behind. As for the Leaf-Fire Divine Eagle and Qin Xiang, they stayed where they were in charge of protecting Lu Wei. Ha ha ha, little flying python is just too weak. I haven't even used my strength, and I've already killed one. In front of the Beast King Palace on the battlefield, Zhu Zhen raised his head and laughed maniacally. Zhu Zhen, how have you been? However, just as Zhu Zhen was about to laugh, he suddenly stopped, and his expression changed greatly. Without any time to think, Zhu Zhen immediately retreated, barely dodging a fatal attack. Who is it? Turning around, Zhu Zhen looked at the figures that appeared in front of him, and his expression instantly turned gloomy. Ningyu! Zhu Zhen clenched his fists tightly as the coldness on his face grew more obvious. Metal-devouring Demon Lion, you're a pinnacle, second-grade sovereign. Go over there and help the six-winged sky soaring python. Leave these small fries to me and the Dark Emperor. Ningyu waved his hand, signaling the metal-devouring Demon Lion to help the six-winged sky soaring python. Chapter 928. Double. Ningyu, everyone is working together to deal with the six-winged sky-soaring python. Yet you're doing the opposite. What exactly are your intentions? Zhu Zhen didn't care about the fate of the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the others. At this moment, he stared fixedly at Ningyu and said coldly, "It's not a wise choice to go against everyone at this moment. I advise you to be smarter and deal with the six-winged sky-soaring python with us." Did the sun rise from the west today? Ningyu raised his head to look at the horizon and said in a puzzled tone, "Based on your character, you should take the initiative to attack me and absolutely not reason with me. As the saying goes, there's definitely something wrong when something unusual happens. You're definitely preparing some ultimate move by doing this. Ha ha ha." Zhu Zhen roared with laughter, and then his expression turned cold as he said, "You're smart. I'm indeed preparing an ultimate move that can instantly kill you. Oh, looks like I'll have to experience it today." Ningyu raised his brows as he stomped on the ground and instantly charged out. Hiss! Hiss! The red fiend sword appeared in his hand, and a violent fluctuation of origin energy appeared on it as it slashed fiercely at Zhu Zhen. "Bring it on!" Zhu Zhen sneered as he gazed at the flying sword that was approaching him, and then he directly withdrew a scroll from his pocket and threw it into the air. "Open!" Along with Zhu Zhen's low shout, the scroll suddenly exploded. After the scroll exploded, a huge golden net descended from midair and directly covered Ningyu. Swoosh! The red fiend sword in Ningyu's hand slashed repeatedly with the intention of slashing open the golden net. However, the defense of the golden net was extremely strong. Even though the red fiend sword had reached the monarch rank, it was unable to slash open it in a short period of time. "Ningyu, this net of mine is called the Sky Blotting Net, and it's a top-grade king rank magic treasure. Although your flying sword is a monarch rank flying sword, it's even more difficult than ascending the heavens to break it open. Zhu Zhen sneered. I'll have to trouble you for a while. I'll play with you after I kill those two demonic beasts. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhu Zhen's figure shot out explosively. His target was the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King. Aunt Yin, who should we help? Yun Mu furrowed his brows and asked. Although Yun Mu was the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's first Brand Saintess and was on the same side as Zhu Zhen on the surface, Yun Mu didn't want to step forward to help Zhu Zhen. On the contrary, Yun Mu wanted Zhu Zhen to be killed. Only when Zhu Zhen was killed would she be able to completely shake off this huge trouble. However, Yun Mu was very clear that with Zhu Zhen's strength, it would be extremely difficult for Ningyu to kill him. No one has shown signs of weakness, so we won't help anyone. The talisman, martial supremacy, saw through it. Unlike Yun Mu, Supremacy Talisman Marshal had always believed that Ningyu was very powerful. Ningyu was able to break his embryonic domain when he was in the middle stage of the creation realm. Now that he had advanced to the late stage of the creation realm, his strength must have improved. Under this premise, Zhu Zhen wouldn't necessarily be able to kill him. Aunt Yin, the Heaven Shrouding Net, is a top-grade King-step magic treasure. Ning, you shouldn't be able to break it, right? Yun Mu frowned. A top-grade King-step magic treasure. Even she wouldn't be able to break it in a short period of time. Much less Ningyu, who was only at the late stage of the creation realm. Crack! At this time, an ear-piercing sound rang out. Yun Mu's mouth was slightly agape. She looked at the thin figure in the middle of the heaven-shrouding net. Her face filled with shock. Gulp! Yun Mu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. She didn't dare to believe that Ningyu could actually break the heaven-shrouding net in such a short period of time. It had to be known that this was the heaven-shrouding net, a top-grade King-step magic treasure. Impossible. Besides Yun Mu's shock, the talisman martial supremacy also revealed a look of disbelief. In truth, it was no wonder that the talisman martial supremacy was shocked. A long time ago, Zhu Zhen had used the heaven-shrouding net to trap 2 first-grade human supremacies. How long had it been? Ning, you actually broke the heaven-shrouding net? Uft, uft. Just as Ning, you broke the heaven-shrouding net, 2 sounds of blood spurting came from the other side. Bang, bang. What followed was the sound of 2 bodies crashing into the wall. Ha ha ha! 2 useless demonic beasts dare to fight with me? Simply seeking death. After casually defeating the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King, Zhu Zhen raised his head and laughed maniacally. But Zhu Zhen's maniacal laughter stopped abruptly in the middle of his sentence. His face was filled with a dumbfounded expression. Why, Waiwu, broke my heaven-shrouding net? Zhu Zhen pointed at Ningyu in front of him. He even stuttered a little when he spoke. The heaven-shrouding net was a top-grade King-step magic treasure. How could Ningyu be so powerful? Zhu Zhen was very shocked, and this shock was also shown on his face. Humph. Ningyu did not answer Zhu Zhen. He snorted coldly and immediately rushed out with the red fiend's sword in his hand. On the other side of the battlefield, with the addition of the metal-devouring demon lion, the pressure on the 6-winged flying python was getting lighter. Originally, the 6-winged flying python and the spirit cauldron venerable were evenly matched. Now that the 6-winged flying python had a new force, it was obvious that the pressure on the spirit cauldron venerable was getting greater. The scales of victory were already tilting towards the 6-winged flying python. Ningyu, don't be too proud. The heaven-shrouding net is just one of my many magic treasures. I have many of them. Seeing that Ningyu was rushing towards him, Zhu Zhen was not afraid. Instead, he sneered and took out a green flying sword. Green steel sword, a top-grade King-step flying sword, was extremely powerful. Strictly speaking, If the cultivation of the martial artist who refined the flying sword was not too low, the green steel sword would not be just a top-grade king-step flying sword. Ding! The red fiend sword and the green steel sword separated. The pain from the webbing between the thumb and the index finger caused Ningyu and Zhu Zhen to retreat several tens of meters away. Poof! Just when Ningyu and Zhu Zhen were about to fight again, a sudden change occurred. On the other side of the battlefield, Yin Hua seized the opportunity to stab his sword into the neck of a lesser flying python and killed it on the spot. Roar! The death of this lesser flying python caused the six-winged flying python to be completely enraged. After roaring towards the sky, the six-winged flying python's attacks became sharper and sharper. The six-winged flying python's battle intent was overflowing, but it made the spirit cauldron venerable and the others suffer. They were already at a disadvantage. And now that the six-winged flying python went berserk, they naturally felt very uncomfortable. Human, I swear in the name of the flying python's ancestor that as long as you can save 4 lesser flying pythons, I'll double the benefits, I promised you. Ning Yu held the red fiend sword in his hand and stared straight at Zhu Zhen. Right at this moment, the voice of the six-winged flying python entered Ning Yu's ears. Double the benefits. When he heard this, Ning Yu was first stunned before he nodded lightly at the six-winged flying python. The reason Ning Yu came out to help the six-winged flying python was because the benefits it promised him were too great, and it was so great that he could not refuse it. Chapter 9:29. Clues. Haha, it's not good to be distracted now. The corners of Zhu Zhen's mouth curled up when he saw Ningyu was stunned, and then he soared into the sky and charged towards Ningyu at an extremely shocking speed. Hiss! Hiss! Zhu Zhen's speed was extremely swift, and it was swift to the point he emitted hissing sounds from the friction with the air. Solitaire! Even though Ningyu's attention was on the six-winged sky-soaring python, he was prepared for Zhu Zhen's surprise attack. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu slashed out numerous sword waves in succession. Swish! The sword waves covered the heavens and the earth as they blasted towards Zhu Zhen. Child's play. Zhu Zhen didn't take Ningyu's solitaire seriously at all. He swung the azure steel sword in his hand, and numerous sword lights that weren't inferior to solitaire flew out and collided with solitaire. Bang! The two collided. A shocking rumble resounded, and then the sword waves and sword lights dispersed. After the sword waves and sword lights dispersed, Zhu Zhen had already arrived before Ningyu, and he slashed fiercely towards Ningyu's neck. The might of Zhu Zhen's attack was enormous, and if Ningyu was unfortunate enough to be struck by it, then he would definitely die on the spot. The might of the top-grade king rank azure steel sword wasn't for show. Kid, keep your eyes open in your next life. There are some people you can offend and some you can't. Zhu Zhen couldn't help but laugh when he saw the flying sword was about to strike Ningyu's neck. Crack! In the next moment, a clear and melodious sound resounded. Ha ha ha! Zhu Zhen roared with laughter when he saw Ning Yu's head being separated from his body. What? The Dark Emperor and Lightning Wolf King's expressions changed drastically when they saw Ning Yu's miserable state, and their eyes revealed terror. Others might not know how strong Ning Yu was, but the Dark Emperor and Lightning Wolf King knew it very well. So long as Ning Yu wasn't willing, then even 2 Zhu Zhens wouldn't be able to kill him. Could it be that he was too careless? Or could it be that someone was playing tricks in the dark? And in this, on the other side, Yunmu's mouth was slightly agape. His eyes were also filled with disbelief. Like the Dark Emperor and the others, Yunmu didn't believe that Ningyu was killed. However, the truth was right in front of him. Yunmu had to believe it. It's not that simple. After all, Talisman Supremacy was a martial artist who had cultivated an embryonic domain, so she could see further. When Zhu Zhen drew his sword just now, her eyes were fixed on Ningyu, and she noticed a small movement from Ningyu. At the critical moment of life and death, the corners of Ningyu's mouth raised unnaturally. It was this arc that allowed the talisman supremacy to conclude that Ningyu was definitely not killed. Zhu Zhen was so complacent and careless that he would definitely suffer. I know there are some people I can provoke, and some people I can't. Zhu Zhen's maniacal laughter had just ended when an indifferent voice rang out from the void. Then a figure slowly appeared in Zhu Zhen's vision. This is impossible. Looking at the familiar figure in front of him, Zhu Zhen's eyes widened in shock. Ningyu was already killed, and his corpse was laid out over there. Now that he had come back to life, how could Zhu Zhen not be shocked? Zhu Zhen pointed at the Ningyu on the ground and said, "Didn't you already die? F***CK." Before Zhu Zhen could finish his sentence, he was stunned on the spot and cursed. This was because Zhu Zhen discovered that the corpse on the ground was not Ningyu, but the 9-cauldron divine pavilion genius that came with him. "Sorry, I killed your friend when you weren't paying attention." Ningyu shrugged, and his voice rang out at the right time. "The worst thing you did in this life was to go against me." As he spoke, Ningyu rose from the ground and rushed out. However, this time, the direction that Ningyu rushed out was not towards Zhu Zhen, but towards the little flying python. Since he had promised the 6-winged flying python, Ningyu would not go back on his word. Helping the 6-winged flying python and saving the 4 little 6-winged flying pythons was the most important thing. It was even more important than killing Zhu Zhen. After all, whether or not he could obtain any benefits from the Beast King's palace depended on this. Damn it! Zhu Zhen clenched his fists, and his expression became increasingly ruthless. He had suffered a double loss, trying to steal a chicken, but losing the rice used to lure it. Not only did he not kill Ningyu, but he had also stirred up trouble and killed his friend. Bang! While Zhu Zhen was still upset, Ningyu had already joined the battlefield. With Ningyu joining the fray, the little flying python was immediately energized. Even its combat strength seemed to increase. After blasting out dozens of sword waves, Ningyu forced Yinhua and the others away and protected the 4 little flying pythons behind him. Shua Shua, the Lightning Wolf King and Dark Emperor, also stood on either side of Ningyu. "Ningyu!" Yinhua's eyes were extremely cold as he scolded. "Aren't you afraid of being bitten by teaming up with the flying pythons?" "Yes, I'm very afraid." Ningyu pretended to be very afraid. But soon Ningyu returned to normal and said, "However, teaming up with the flying pythons is better than teaming up with you guys." Supreme 9 Purities Temple, Blood God Palace, Corpse Sect, and 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. No matter which of these 4 forces, they all had enmity with Ningyu. Under this premise, teaming up with the flying pythons that had sworn an oath was a wise choice. "Humph, don't be too proud. With your strength, how can you fight against so many of us?" Yinhua snorted. "Why are you talking nonsense with him? Let's attack together. I don't believe that we can't kill him." Beside Yinhua, the short-haired youth from Corpse Sect took a step forward and released his aura. The short-haired youth was called Shuremo, and his cultivation was at grade 1 Human Supreme. "I'm more than enough to deal with a clown like him." The long-haired man from Blood God Palace shrugged and looked indifferent. The long-haired man was called Shui Wuming, and he was also a grade 1 Human Supreme. Yinhua, Shuremo, and Shui Wuming. If Zhu Zhen was added to the mix, it would be 4 peerless geniuses at grade 1 Human Supreme. Even in the entire Sky Demon region, these 4 people could be considered top geniuses. However, the thing that Ningyu was least afraid of was geniuses. In his previous life, Ningyu was a peerless genius in the Sky Demon region. Even the older generation of martial artists were not as powerful as him. Strictly speaking, Yinhua and the other 3 were considered juniors to Ningyu. Shui Wuming, Since you have a request, we naturally won't fight with you. Zhu Zhen was very smart. He had just fought with Ningyu, so it was not a good time for him to make a move. After all, the main battlefield was not here but the Beast King Palace. Humph! Shui Wuming was very confident in his strength. He snorted coldly, stomped his feet on the ground, and immediately charged out. Haha, what a fool! Seeing Shui Wuming charge out, Zhu Zhen smiled in his heart and said sinisterly, Indeed, he's stupid. Not only Zhu Zhen, but even Yin Hua and Shi Mo thought the same. It's not that simple. Talisman Supremacy shook his head and said to Yun Mu, Shui Wuming should have noticed something. What is it? Yun Mu asked doubtfully. The reason why Ningyu protected the little flying python must be because he made some sort of agreement with the six-winged flying python. Chapter 930. Battle, all of you get out of the way. Ningyu spoke in a deep voice with a grave expression as he watched Shui Wuming approach him. Although Shui Wuming's cultivation was only at grade 1 mortal sovereign, his strength was the strongest amongst the four of them. Although Ningyu was not afraid of him, the Dark Emperor and the others were not too strong. If their fight affected the Dark Emperor and the little flying Mang, the gains would not make up for the losses. Therefore, Ningyu turned around and instructed as he charged forward with the red demon's sword in hand. Don't worry. The Dark Emperor knew that the enemy Ningyu was facing was very strong. At this time, he definitely could not cause trouble for Ningyu. Humph! I want to see just what capabilities you have. Shui Wuming snorted coldly. He took out a silver-white flying sword and slashed at Ningyu's neck. A supreme grade, king grade flying sword. White blood sword. As a top genius of the Blood God Palace, Shui Wuming's status in the Blood God Palace was many times higher than Qin Xiang's. Moreover, Shui Wuming's father was the deputy palace master of Blood God Palace. If it wasn't for the fact that Shui Wuming was unable to control a royal rank flying sword, Shui Wuming's father would have even gotten a royal rank flying sword for him. The difference in status made Shui Wuming the strongest among the four peerless geniuses. After all, whether it was Yin Hua, Shi Mo, or Zhu Zhen, none of them had a stronger background than Shui Wuming. It's actually nameless blood. On a distant mountain peak, Qin Xiang stared at Shui Wuming. A shocked expression appeared on her face. Is nameless blood very powerful? Qin Xiang knew Shui Wuming, but Lu Wei did not. At this time, Lu Wei was concerned about Ningyu's safety and whether Ningyu could defeat this genius called nameless blood. Amazing, of course it's amazing. After taking a deep breath, Qin Xiang said, In the area where the Blood God Palace is located, everyone knows about Wuming Shui's name. It is said that Wuming Shui's combat power has reached the peak. From what I can see, Shui Wuming is only a grade 1 mortal sovereign. How strong could he be? The Li Fire Divine Condor curled his lips. He did not believe Qin Xiang's words. Reach the peak? What kind of joke was this? How could a first-grade human sovereign be worthy of the words, reaching the pinnacle? Qin Xiang glanced disdainfully at the Li Fire Divine Condor and continued, If Shui Wuming wanted to kill you, he would not even need to use 10% of his strength. Impossible, the Li Fire Divine Condor exclaimed. The Li Fire Divine Condor was very confident in its own strength. Even a peerless genius like Ningyu would not be able to defeat him with just 10% of his strength, let alone nameless blood. If nameless blood could defeat Ningyu with just 10% of his strength, he would definitely be able to kill Ningyu instantly. He would not be fighting Ningyu like this. Boom! In front of the Beast King's palace, Ningyu and Nameless Blood were engaged in an intense battle. Ningyu wielded the red demon sword and slashed out several sword ripples. Every single one of them was extremely powerful. As for Shui Wuming, he brandished the white blood sword. Every single one of the sword ripples was extremely powerful, breaking through Ning Yu's sword ripples. Damn it! The two of them are actually so powerful. At this moment, Zhu Zhen's expression was extremely ugly. Originally, Zhu Zhen thought that Ning Yu's strength was only SOSO. At most, Ning Yu would only be able to contend against him. Zhu Zhen thought that as long as he used his trump card, he would be able to kill Ning Yu in an instant. From the looks of it, he was wrong. Extremely wrong. Ning Yu's strength was extremely powerful. Even if he used all his trump cards, he might not be able to kill Ning Yu. Fight! Fight with all your might. It would be best if both sides suffer. Zhu Zhen's eyes shone with a frightening light as he said viciously, only when both Ning Yu and Nameless Blood suffered heavy losses could he completely dominate the Beast King's palace. Zhu Zhen did not think that Yin Hua and Shi Mo could contend against him. On the contrary, Yin Hua and Shi Mo did not think so. They did not think much of Zhu Zhen. Their thinking was very simple. They would wait for the battle between Nameless Blood and Ning Yu to reach a critical moment before launching a sneak attack. As long as the sneak attack succeeded, they could instantly get rid of the two big problems. Kid, if we continue to fight, both of us will definitely suffer heavy losses. Why don't we join forces? Although Nameless Blood was young, he was also an old fox. He had more or less guessed the thoughts of Zhu Zhen, Yin Hua, and the others. In addition, his original intention of fighting with Ning Yu was to control the little flying python, so that the six-winged flying python would refrain from taking action. In the beginning, Nameless Blood might have wanted to kill Ning Yu. However, as the battle progressed, he gradually changed his mind. At this moment, even joining forces with Ning Yu might not be a bad idea. You want to join forces with me? Ning Yu raised his eyebrows when he heard Nameless Blood's spiritual voice transmission. How do we join forces? It's very simple. Give me the two little flying pythons, and I can join forces with you to fight against Zhu Zhen and the others. Nameless Blood said proudly, although you are very strong, it will be as difficult as ascending to the heavens if you want to deal with the three of them alone. What you said is actually very correct. Ning Yu nodded slightly and said, It's more than right. It's practically perfect. Nameless Blood continued, If the two of us join forces, even in the Beast King's palace, we will be able to sweep through everything. Hurry up and hand over the two flying pythons. You might have misunderstood me. Ning Yu shrugged and said, Although you are right, I don't agree. Brat, you are playing with me. Nameless Blood's eyes turned cold as he berated. Playing with you? The corners of Ning Yu's lips curled up as he shook his head. You are wrong again. I am not playing with you. I am playing with a monkey. Ah, I will tear you apart. Nameless Blood naturally could not tolerate being treated like a monkey by Ning Yu. He shouted and immediately poured the yuan in his sea of consciousness into the white blood sword. Then he charged forward. Seeing that Nameless Blood was getting closer and closer, Ning Yu did not retreat. Instead, he took a step forward and slowly closed his eyes. What is Ning Yu doing? Why is he giving up? Yun Mu frowned and asked doubtfully when he saw Ning Yu's actions. It's not that simple. Since Ning Yu is doing this, he must have his reasons. The talisman supremacy said in a low voice. Aunt Yun, Ning Yu is the main person to deal with Zhu Zhen. If anything happens to him, the burden on our shoulders will increase. Yun Mu said hesitantly, I know what you mean, but you can rest assured. Ning Yu will not be killed so easily. The talisman supremacy trusted Ning Yu very much. Hearing this, Yun Mu didn't continue asking. Instead, he stared at Ning Yu. Ding! In the blink of an eye, a crisp sound rang out. It was obvious that Nameless Blood's white blood sword had slashed at Ning Yu's chest. Ha ha ha, brat, you still don't. What? The moment the flying sword touched Ning Yu's body, Nameless Blood laughed maniacally. However, something unexpected happened. To Nameless Blood's surprise, his white blood sword stopped in front of Ningyu and did not advance at all. Chapter 931. Follow. I'm sorry I might have disappointed you. Ningyu raised his head and smiled at Nameless Blood. Then, Ningyu suddenly stabbed with the Red Fiend's sword in his hand. Pooh! As Nameless Blood was still shocked by Ningyu's extraordinary combat strength, he was stabbed by Ningyu's sword. The sound of a flying sword stabbing into flesh resounded in the area. Swoosh! At this moment, everyone in the surroundings was stunned on the spot. Their mouths were slightly agape, and their faces were filled with disbelief. How is this possible? Especially Zhuzhen, he was slightly stunned. In his opinion, both Ningyu and Nameless Blood were top geniuses, and their strengths were on par with his. Logically speaking, Nameless Blood couldn't have been defeated so quickly. What was going on? What went wrong? Zhu Zhen didn't know, and neither did the others. Of course, as one of the parties involved, Nameless Blood knew very well. What kind of defensive armor are you wearing? Nameless Blood took a few steps back and endured the intense pain coming from his chest. He said in a deep voice, "It can actually block my top-grade king-grade flying sword." Buzz! As Wu Ming Xue's voice faded, a set of dark gold battle armor appeared on Ningyu's body. Middle-grade, king-grade armor. Nameless Blood knew his stuff, and he could tell the grade of the armor with a single glance. However, there was one thing that Nameless Blood didn't know. He didn't know that the armor was called Phantom Armor. Otherwise, he would definitely be shocked. Middle-grade, king-grade armor? How can it block my top-grade, king-grade flying sword? Nameless Blood couldn't believe that a middle-grade, king-grade armor could actually block his fatal attack. Most importantly, he used a top-grade, king-grade flying sword. Rumble! At this moment, the situation on the other side changed dramatically. With the addition of the metal-devouring demon lion, the six-winged, sky-soaring python gradually gained the upper hand. With the ability of the six-winged, sky-soaring python, it quickly turned the upper hand into victory. Bang! 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 The six-winged, sky-soaring python took advantage of the moment when the venerable spirit cauldron and the others were careless to launch 3 powerful attacks in succession. Without a doubt, every attack landed on the spirit cauldron, venerable one, and the others. Poo-pee-you-pee-you. After spurting out a mouthful of blood, venerable spirit cauldron and venerable dragon slayer retreated to their respective camps. As for the six-winged sky-soaring python, it came to Ningyu's side with the metal-devouring demon lion. Thank you. The six-winged sky-soaring python was not an ungrateful person. He took out a storage bag and threw it to Ningyu. After receiving the storage bag, Ningyu split out a bit of his soul perception to check it, then nodded in satisfaction. It's a pleasure working with you. Ningyu smiled at the six-winged sky-soaring python and immediately looked at the leaf-flaming condor. Screech! The leaf-fire divine condor understood. It immediately let out a cry and flew out with Qin Xiang and Lu Wei. After a while, they landed in front of the Beast King Palace. Qin Xiang! Wu Ming Xue exclaimed when he saw the familiar figure suddenly appear. Why are you with Ningyu? Qin Xiang glanced at Wu Ming Xue, then stopped talking and retreated behind Ningyu. Ningyu, let go of Qin Xiang and I can spare your life, Wu Ming Xue said coldly. Back in the Blood God Palace, although Wu Ming Xue and Qin Xiang's status were worlds apart, it did not stop Wu Ming Xue from liking Qin Xiang. Wu Ming Xue's liking could even be described as stubborn. If I can't get it, no one else can. Qin Xiang went to the Beast King Palace, this time partly to avoid Wu Ming Xue. Six-winged sky, soaring python. Our agreement ends here. I'll take my leave first. Ning, you could not be bothered with Wu Ming Xue. What does the grudge between you and Qin Xiang have to do with me? Now that the spirit cauldron venerable and the others were seriously injured, It was a great opportunity to enter the Beast King Palace. If he missed this opportunity, there would be no more. Ning Yu would definitely not waste it. Hold it. Seeing that Ning Yu was about to leave, the six-winged sky-soaring python took out another storage bag and threw it to Ning Yu. The things inside are very important. You can only open it when you reach the deepest part of the Beast King Palace. In addition, you can bring along the 4 little sky-soaring pythons. If you encounter any danger in the Beast King Palace, they can help you deal with it. Ning Yu took a deep look at the 6-winged sky-soaring python and nodded slightly. At this time, the 6-winged sky-soaring python chose to give him a storage bag and let him bring along 4 little sky-soaring pythons. One had to admit that it was definitely not a good thing. However, Ning Yu knew very well that a skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. If he did not agree to the 6-winged sky-soaring python, he would definitely not be able to enter the Beast King Palace. If he entered the Beast King Palace first, he would have a high chance of obtaining the treasures inside. Ning Yu knew this. Therefore, he stomped on the ground and his body shot out. Swish! 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 Behind Ning Yu, the Dark Emperor Lu Wei, Metal-Devouring Demon Lion, Li Fire God Condor, Lightning Wolf King, and even Qin Xiang rose from the ground and entered the Beast King Palace in an instant. Let's go too. Seeing that Ning Yu and the others had left, the Talisman Supremacy raised his brows and shot out in a flash. Humph! Let's see who dares to step into the Beast King Palace without my permission. The 6-winged sky-soaring python took a step out and stood firmly in front of the Beast King Palace. 6-winged sky-soaring python, you're severely injured now. If all of us join forces, you won't have a good time either. The Talisman Supremacy said coldly, I won't have a good time, but if you want to enter the Beast King Palace, you'll have to step over my dead body. The 6-winged sky-soaring python said in a deep voice. You. The Talisman Supremacy's expression was very ugly. Although the 6-winged sky-soaring python and the Spirit Cauldron Venerable were also severely injured. As Ning Yu had said, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. At this time, whoever stood out first would definitely be at a disadvantage. Hence, the Talisman Supremacy also found a place to sit down and chose to close his eyes to rest. In the Beast King Palace, the two forces were in a stalemate. Others might not know, but the 6-winged sky-soaring python was very clear that this stalemate could not last for long. Half an hour. He could only last for half an hour at most. Half an hour later, he had to return to the Beast King Palace to replenish his energy. Otherwise, he would die a terrible death. Right now, his only hope was that Ning Yu could find the core area of the palace under the guidance of the little sky-soaring python and completely destroy the array formation that trapped him. That was the only way he could regain his freedom. Otherwise, everything would be futile. Sha sha sha! In the bright and spacious Beast King Palace, several figures were advancing rapidly. That's right, these figures were Ning Yu and the rest. After entering the Beast King Palace, Ning Yu and the rest encountered 2 forks. Initially, Ning Yu wanted to make a choice, but the little sky-soaring python directly flew into the forks on the left. Helplessly, Ning Yu and the rest could only follow. Following behind the little flying python, Ning Yu and the others finally stopped after about 10 minutes. What the F*** CK? Are you sure you're not kidding me? Chapter 932. Hunting 10 puppets, lined up in a row. Each of the puppets' cultivation was around the first-grade human supremacy stage. 10 first-grade human supremacy stage puppets. Even with Ning Yu's powerful battle prowess, he still found it a little troublesome. Ning Yu, should we? The Dark Emperor looked at the 10 puppets, then looked at Ning Yu and said, Why should we? 10 first-grade human supremacy stage puppets. Even if we win, we won't be able to face the upcoming danger. Ning Yu kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and said unhappily, "Swoosh!" At this moment, one of the flying pythons suddenly dashed out. The little flying python seemed to know how to control the puppets. After it busied itself for a few minutes, the 10 puppets actually turned around and walked toward the bronze door step by step. Dong dong! The 10 puppets moved in unison and stopped in front of the bronze door. Bang! 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 What the puppets did next made Ning Yu a little dumbfounded. Each of the 10 puppets punched out with their right fists, hitting the bronze door. A series of crisp sounds rang out. Instantly, the bronze door began to shake. Apart from the bronze door, Ning Yu could even feel the ground trembling. The trembling lasted for 3 minutes before it completely returned to normal. Boom! What followed was an earth-shattering sound. F***CK. Looking at the bronze door that had a few large cracks on it, Ning Yu's mouth could not help but twitch a few times. Fortunately, he did not fight with these puppets. It turned out that their battle prowess was so strong. Hiss hiss! Seeing that the bronze door was broken, the 4 flying pythons let out a few cheerful cries and flew straight into the hall. As if they were influenced by the little flying goslings, the 10 puppets followed behind them and entered the hall. Let's go too. After pondering for a moment, Ning Yu also entered the hall. Behind Ning Yu, the Dark Emperor and the others all followed. Gulp! As soon as he entered the hall, Ning Yu was shocked by the scene before him. The hall wasn't too big. It could only be described as small. However, although the sparrow was small, it had all the vital organs. Furthermore, there were illusory walls on each of the 4 walls of the hall. The so-called Phantom Wall was a projection of what was happening in other places on the Phantom Wall. The Beast King Palace is divided into 3 areas. At that moment, Qin Xiang said, "Outer region, inner region, core region." The outer region is made up of the north, south, east, and west regions. The inner region is made up of the heaven, earth, black, and yellow regions. As for the core region, there is only one place called the core hall. You mean we haven't stepped into the inner area yet? Ning Yu frowned. That's right. This place we are in is called the outer area's hub hall. Qin Xiang pointed at the row of messy rocks in front of the 4 mini-flying pythons and continued, "Those rocks are used to control the arrays and mechanisms in the outer area. As long as they are arranged according to a certain pattern, they can activate the mechanisms in the outer area." Oh, right. Hearing that, Ning Yu took out the first storage bag that the 6-winged flying python gave him. Ning, you clearly remembered that there was a sheepskin scroll in the storage bag that was used to record the combination method. What? You actually have this thing? Seeing the sheepskin scroll in Ning Yu's hand, Qin Xiang's expression changed drastically, and she said, "As long as you master the operation method of these mechanisms, you will be the absolute ruler in the outer area." Rumble. Just as Qin Xiang was feeling shocked, a rumbling sound rang out. Hearing this sound, Ning Yu and the others all turned their heads to look. This look directly caused Ning Yu and the others to be stunned on the spot. They saw 4 mini-flying pythons trapped in a transparent array. And right above the array, for large words reflected in everyone's eyes, "Python trapping array." This array is specially used to deal with the 6-winged flying python. Almost instantly, Ning Yu reacted. The python trapping array, as the name suggested, was specially used to trap the 6-winged flying python. Combined with the 6-winged flying python's inexplicable actions before entering the Beast King Palace, Ning Yu vaguely guessed something, but he was not very sure about this matter. What should we do? Should we break this array and save the 4 mini-flying pythons? The Dark Emperor stared at the mini-flying python in the array and asked, "Let's save them first. The rest can be discussed later." Ning Yu gritted his teeth and decided to save the mini-flying python. As for what the 6-winged flying python was up to, he temporarily did not care. Anyway, the mini-flying python was in his hands. He did not believe that the 6-winged flying python would do anything too outrageous. Attack with all your strength. With a low roar, Ningyu was the first to wave the red demon's sword and attack the array. The Dark Emperor and the others looked at each other and also joined the army to break the array. Even the 10 puppets attacked at the same time. Crack, crack, crack! Everyone added firewood to the fire. Moreover, with the help of the 10 puppets, it did not take long before the python trapping array was broken. The breaking of the python trapping array meant that the 4 mini-flying pythons were saved. Buzz! However, things were developing in a bad direction. As soon as the python trapping array was broken, the space in the area shook and an illusory figure appeared in front of everyone. The 6-winged flying python is not stupid. He actually found you guys to help him break the array. The illusory figure's gaze swept across the crowd before landing on Ningyu. Since you've broken through the first layer of the python trapping formation, you'll have to break through the remaining 2 layers of the python trapping formation. What the hell? Ningyu frowned and asked in confusion. I'm not a ghost. To be precise, I'm the same as the 6-winged flying python. I'm serving the master of the Beast King Palace. The illusory figure said, however, the 6-winged flying python found you as a helper. As long as you can break the 3 python trapping arrays, the 6-winged flying python will regain its freedom. F***CK, I've been tricked. Ningyu's face was filled with black lines. At the end of the day, he was still tricked by the 6-winged flying python. The 6-winged flying python is not completely heartless. You have a treasure with you. With that treasure, you have a certain chance of getting the treasures in the Beast King Palace. Perhaps the illusory figure saw through Ningyu's thoughts. He smiled faintly and said, the hunt has begun. This time, I'll spare your lives for the sake of the 6-winged flying python. However, if I meet you again, you won't be so lucky. As he spoke, the illusory figure's body became more and more illusory and finally dissipated between heaven and earth. Crack, 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 crack. As soon as the illusory figure disappeared, the 10 puppets exploded instantly. Hiss! Ningyu and the others sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw the 10 puppets turn into nothingness. Chapter 933. Bloodbat King Ningyu Look. However, Ningyu's shock didn't last long before he was attracted by a voice. The Dark Emperor pointed at the illusory wall and exclaimed, It's Yinhua and the others. Ningyu said in a deep voice when he saw several figures appearing on the illusory wall. There's more here. At this moment, the Lightning Wolf King pointed at the illusory wall on the other side. Ningyu looked in the direction of the Lightning Wolf King's palm and saw Zhu Zhen and Yun Mu appearing on the wall. Next, several figures also appeared on the other 2 walls. The Blood God Palace, the Corpse Sect, the Supreme 9 Purities Temple, and the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. The 4 forces and the 4 outer regions. Just right. Ningyu, didn't you grasp the method to activate the array formation in each region? Why don't you take advantage of this and capture them all in one fell swoop? The Dark Emperor said fiercely. Such a rare opportunity. Actually, there was no need for the Dark Emperor to say it. Ningyu had thought of it long ago. Swish! His figure flashed and arrived before the stones in the blink of an eye. He began to arrange them according to the arrangement method on the sheepskin scroll. Swish! 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 In the area where Yinhua and the others were. A huge crack suddenly appeared in the space, and several arrows flew out, shooting toward Yinhua and the others. Uft! Uft! Yinhua and the Spirit Cauldron Venerable were very strong, so they easily blocked the arrows. However, the remaining people weren't so lucky. After a round of arrows, there were only 5 people left in their group. In other words, apart from the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and Yinhua, there were 3 people from the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. Damn it! Everyone be careful! The Spirit Cauldron Venerable cursed. The Beast King Palace is filled with traps. The slightest carelessness will lead to death. Everyone must be careful. Understood? Yin Hua and the others answered. Although Yin Hua and the others answered very casually, it was clear from their expressions and their trembling bodies that they were very nervous at the moment. Spirit Cauldron Venerable, how long until we reach the core hall? Yin Hua asked. Before going to the core hall, we should first go to the hub hall in the outer area. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron said solemnly, I've already investigated before coming here. So long as we take control of the hub hall, then we'll be able to toy with the other 3 forces. Tut tut tut. In the area where Shui Wuming and the others were located, several icicles emerged from the ground, directly piercing through the souls of the martial artists who were unable to react in time. Not good. Bloodslayer shouted in a low voice. He waved his hands again and again. Then, several cold lights swept out and bombarded the ice pillars. Ka. Venerable Bloodslayer was a veteran 3rd grade human sovereign. He was extremely powerful. A mere icicle was naturally not a problem for him. Someone must be causing trouble in the hub hall in the outer region. Let's head over there as well. Venerable Bloodslayer's expression was very ugly. He immediately thought of the hub hall. Since Qin Xiang knew about the hub hall, he definitely knew about it. The same thing happened to Zhu Zhen and the evil dragon Venerable. Without a doubt, both of them had chosen to head to the hub hall. At this time, in the hub hall of the outer region, Ning Yu had already stopped and fell into deep thoughts. Although the hub hall in the outer region could control the mechanisms and array formations in the outer region, the mechanisms and array formations in the outer region were all low-grade array formations. These arrays and mechanisms could only kill some martial artists with low cultivation at most. As for powerful martial artists like Yin Hua, Zhu Zhen, and Shui Wuming, they were completely useless. Furthermore, they were already on their guard. If they continued to waste time here, it wouldn't be worth it. Therefore, Ning Yu had decided to head to the inner region. Without hesitation, Ning Yu charged out of the hall. Swish! Swish! However, the moment Ning Yu left the hall, his face drastically changed. Without any time to think, Ning Yu immediately took out the red demon sword and slashed in the air. Whoosh! In the next moment, 2 bloody heads fell to the ground. The corpses were still trembling. Blood bats! Looking at the corpses on the ground, Ning Yu's face instantly turned gloomy. Blood bats were 7th grade demonic beasts. Their strength was equivalent to a manifestation realm martial artist. Some of the more powerful blood bats could even fight against a half-step supremacy. The 2 blood-colored bats that Ning Yu had killed were not very powerful, but they were equivalent to human martial artists at the later stage of the creation realm. Ning Yu, that illusory figure, just said something about the hunt starting. Are we going to be hunted by these blood bats? The Dark Emperor seemed to have thought of something and opened his mouth. I can't rule out that possibility. Ning Yu's face was solemn. He was not afraid of 1 or 2 blood bats. The only thing he was afraid of was a large number of blood bats swarming over. If a group of blood bats came over, how could he defend himself? Whoosh! Speak of the devil. As soon as this thought appeared in Ning Yu's mind, it came true. The void in the distance suddenly split open, and a swarm of blood-colored bats covered the sky and covered the earth. Dark Emperor, Lightning Wolf King, you 2 are in charge of protecting Lu Wei. The rest of you, follow me to kill the enemies. Ning Yu hurriedly instructed before pulling out the red fiend sword and charging out. Other than Ning Yu, the gold-devouring demon lion and the rest did not dare to delay and charged out hurriedly. Rumble! Ning Yu slashed out with his sword, and more than 10 blood bats were split in half. This caused the swarm of blood bats behind him to be wary. Roar! The gold-devouring demon lion roared into the sky, and a huge shockwave killed more than 10 blood bats. Ning Yu and the gold-devouring demon lion's attacks had a certain effect. The blood-colored bat, which was not afraid of death, actually retreated for a moment. As the blood bats retreated, before Ning Yu could heave a sigh of relief, he realized that a huge blood bat had appeared behind the blood bats. Blood Bat King. Looking at the sudden appearance of the huge blood bat, Ning Yu's heart sank to the bottom. The Blood Bat King was different from the ordinary blood bats. The ordinary blood bats were rank 7 demonic beasts, but the Blood Bat King was a rank 8 demonic beast. Moreover, it had reached the terrifying mid-stage rank 8 demonic beast. The weakest mid-stage rank 8 demonic beast was equivalent to a rank 4 human supreme among humans. With the combat power of Ning Yu and the rest, how could they fight against the blood bat with the strength of a rank 4 human supreme? Delicious humans, you are lucky to have met me. The Blood Bat King opened its bloody mouth and said coldly, I never spit out the bones when I eat people. If you meet the Bone Demon, you will be in for a hard time. Blood Bat King, there might be some misunderstanding between us. Can we sit down and talk? Ning Yu's eyes darted around, trying to think of a countermeasure. Fighting head-on was definitely out of the question. The only way was to outsmart them. Humans are cunning. I have nothing to talk about with you. Chapter 934. Did someone say the same thing to you? Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat when he heard the blood-colored Bat King's words. Since the blood-colored Bat King had said that, it meant that someone must have entered the Beast King's palace not long ago. Furthermore, the warrior who entered the Beast King's palace had successfully deceived the blood-colored Bat King and escaped the hunt. Therefore, the blood-colored Bat King was on high alert and did not give Ningyu and the rest any chance. I made a deal with Guemo. We'll see which side kills the most warriors within an hour. The blood-colored Bat King's eyes shone with a frightening glint as he bellowed, Go! Tear them apart! Whoosh! As the blood-colored Bat King bellowed, the blood-colored bats behind him flapped their wings and rushed out. The area that Ningyu and the rest were in was not very spacious. Now that the blood-colored bats swarmed out, it seemed a little crowded. Ningyu gripped the red fiend sword and took a step forward. Together with the metal-devouring demon lion, they formed the first line of defense. It was also the sturdiest line of defense. Puff! 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 Ningyu waved the red fiend sword continuously. With every slash, a blood-colored bat would be killed. The metal-devouring demon lion was not at a disadvantage at all. Every time he attacked, he killed many blood-colored bats. A bunch of trash! Get out of my way! The blood-colored Bat King was clearly dissatisfied with the blood-colored bat's attacks. He flapped his wings, and a strong gust of wind blew the blood-colored bats to the other side. Swoosh! 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 Following that, the blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth, and several cold flashes flew out. These cold flashes were blood-red in color and produced a strong whooshing sound. Swoosh! Looking at the incoming blood-colored cold flashes, Ningyu exerted force with his right leg and kicked the corpse of a blood-colored bat away. Whoosh! The blood-colored cold flashes and blood-colored bats collided. The result was shocking. After the whooshing sound, the blood-colored bats dissipated from the world. Even though Ningyu was prepared for this outcome, he felt his scalp tingle. Corrosive! The blood-colored cold light that the blood-colored Bat King spat out was extremely corrosive. One had to know that these blood-colored bats were all 7th rank demonic beasts. Their bodies were extremely hard. Even such a tough body was instantly corroded. It was enough to show how corrosive the blood-colored cold light was. Gold-devouring demon lion, follow me! At this critical moment, Ning Yu's expression was extremely grave. With a flick of his wrist, all the essence in his sea of consciousness surged out, forming a protective essence barrier in front of him. Seeing this, the metal-devouring demon lion hurriedly released the energy in its body into the Yuan Qi light shield. Behind him, the Dark Emperor, the Lightning Wolf King, the Leaf Fire Divine Eagle, and even Qin Xiang and Lu Wei released their essence and injected it into the essence protection barrier. Chi-Chi, several blood-red cold lights, collided with the Yuan Qi barrier, producing a sizzling sound. Seeing that his blood-colored cold light was blocked, the blood-colored Bat King raised his eyebrows and laughed sinisterly. Not bad, you guys have some skills, but at this point the blood-colored Bat King paused for a moment before continuing. You guys met me today. Therefore, you are destined to die without a burial place. With that, the blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth again and spat out several blood-colored cold lights in front of everyone's horrified gazes. I'm going to kill you. Looking at the blood-colored cold lights that flew out of the blood-colored Bat King's mouth, Ning Yu could not help but curse. Ning Yu knew his limits. The Yuan Qi light shield formed by him, the metal-devouring demon lion, and the others could only withstand the first round of blood-colored cold lights at most. If there was a second round of blood-colored cold lights, they would definitely be finished. Let's fight. At this moment, Ningyu knew that he could not hold back at all. Otherwise, he would really die without a burial place. Metal-devouring demon lion, you take charge of the Yuan Qi light shield. I'll go deal with the blood-colored Bat King. With a low roar, Ning Yu stomped on the ground and his body shot out. Seeing Ning Yu rush out, the metal-devouring demon lion was a little stunned. The blood-colored Bat King was a mid-8th rank demonic beast. Its strength was equivalent to a 4th grade human supreme martial artist. And you're only in the late manifestation realm. The metal-devouring demon lion would never believe that a late manifestation realm warrior could fight a 4th grade human supreme martial artist demonic beast. What a waste! If I had known earlier, I would not have entered the Beast King Palace with Ningyu. At this moment, the metal-devouring demon lion was very upset, but there was nothing he could do. He had come with Ningyu to obtain the innate spirit due and the 6th grade human supreme martial artist demonic beast core from Ningyu. Now, it was very likely that he would end up losing the bait. Good timing. After the blood-colored cold light was shot out, the Bat King ignored it. Instead, it twisted its neck and took a step forward to fight with Ningyu. Uffed. Almost at the moment of contact, Ningyu could not withstand the heavy blow and was forced to retreat dozens of feet before he could stabilize himself. I'm going to eat you alive. In the next moment, the blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth and a terrifying suction force came from its mouth, trying to swallow Ningyu alive. Facing the blood-colored Bat King's bloody mouth, Ningyu did not retreat. Instead, he dashed out. Ningyu, what are you doing? Don't do anything stupid. Behind the metal-devouring demon lion, the Dark Emperor and the rest exclaimed when they saw Ningyu's actions. Red Demon, it's all up to you now. Ningyu took a deep breath. Just as he was about to reach the blood-colored Bat King, he suddenly changed his direction. However, when Ningyu changed his direction, he suddenly threw the red demon sword. Whoosh! The blood-colored Bat King did not take the red demon sword seriously. It flapped its wings, and a strong gust of wind flew out. The strong gust of wind did not stop the red demon sword. In the blink of an eye, the red demon sword arrived before the blood-colored Bat King and swiftly slashed at its bloody mouth. The red demon sword was a sovereign flying sword. One could imagine that the blood-colored Bat King's lips would definitely be cut off if it was struck. Humph, I've underestimated you. However, the blood-colored Bat King was a mid-stage level 8 demon beast after all. It still had a sharp eye, sensing the terrifying essence energy fluctuations emanating from the red demon sword. The blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth and spat out another blood-colored cold gleam. Ding! 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 The blood-colored cold gleam clashed with the red demon sword. Swoosh! After that move, the red demon sword tore through the void and flew into Ningyu's hand. Seems like I have to expose my spatial laws. Wielding the red demon sword, Ning Yu's eyes darkened. The situation was clear now. Unless he used spatial laws, there was no way to break out of today's situation. Boom! Boom! However, just as Ningyu was about to activate the spatial laws in his sea of consciousness, something strange happened. A crack suddenly appeared in the space behind the blood-colored bats. After that, several figures appeared from the crack. Damn it! The figures cursed the moment they appeared. Chapter 935. Join forces, it's you. Ningyu recognized all of these figures that suddenly appeared. They were none other than the people from the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion, Zhu Zhan, Yunmu, and Supremacy Marshal. At this moment, the three of them were in a slightly sorry state. Even Zhu Zhan's clothes were somewhat tattered. Interesting, it's getting more and more interesting. The blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth wide and swallowed the blood-colored cold light it had just spat out into its stomach. It laughed sinisterly and said, "3 more delicious humans have come. Go." As the blood-colored Bat King's voice rang out, many blood-colored bats swarmed towards Zhu Zhan and the others. Die! Although Zhu Zhan's clothes were damaged, his fighting strength did not decrease at all. He could kill many of these blood-colored bats that were at the late stage of the creation realm and half a step to the supremacy realm with a single move. Coupled with Yunmu and the talisman martial supremacy's help, the area was soon filled with blood-colored bats. Stop! Seeing that more and more bats were dying, the blood-colored Bat King said in a deep voice, "Hua!" The blood-colored bats were well trained, so they immediately stopped attacking upon hearing the sound. Good, very good. This will be more fun, the Bat King said gloomily. Buzz! Right at this moment, space shook once more. Then, another group of people appeared beside Zhu Zhan and the others. Yinhua! It was a bit far-fetched to say that they were the same group of people, because there were only 2 people in this group. One of them was Yinhua, while the other was the venerable spirit cauldron of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Without a doubt, the rest of the warriors of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple had all perished in the outer region of the Beast King's palace. Kacha! Not long after Yinhua and the others appeared, a few people from the Blood God Palace also appeared in this area. Compared to the people of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, there were a few more people left in the Blood God Temple. But that was all. Other than Shui Wuming and the evil Dragon Venerable, the Blood God Palace only had 2 martial artists at the peak of the creation realm who had survived. At this point, the Blood God Palace, the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, and Ningyu's group were all gathered here. Just like how they dealt with the 6-winged sky soaring serpent in the past, no single force was a match for the 6-winged sky soaring serpent. However, if several forces joined forces, they would be able to contend against the 6-winged sky soaring serpent. Therefore, the Scarlet Bat King's expression became increasingly unsightly as more and more martial artists appeared. In the end, the blood-colored Bat King even rose from the ground and rushed out. Roar! The blood-colored Bat King was very smart. If it continued to wait, who knew what unforeseen events would happen? He wanted to take advantage of the fact that he could still suppress all the martial artists present and kill them all. Otherwise, even if he was very powerful, he wouldn't be able to handle a few more forces. Rumble! However, as soon as the blood-colored Bat King charged out, its expression changed drastically, and it hurriedly retreated. This was because the blood-colored Bat King discovered that the space in front of it had suddenly cracked open. Then an extremely terrifying attack had blasted out from the spatial crack. An earth-shattering explosion resounded in the area. Then a few wretched figures flew out from the spatial crack. Ha ha ha, trash is indeed trash. You actually think that you can contend against me just because Your cultivation has reached grade 3 Human Supreme? Humph. Humans are indeed an amazing species. As soon as the figures were blasted out, a loud laughter came from the spatial crack. Following closely behind the laughter was an extremely thin and weak figure. Bone Demon! Ningyu and the others might not recognize this thin and weak martial artist, but the blood-colored Bat King was very familiar with him. In the outer area of the Beast King Palace, there were a total of 2 hunters. One was him, and the other was Bone Demon. Bone Demon's cultivation was the same as his grade 4 Human Supreme. However, there was still a huge difference between him and Bone Demon. He had a large number of blood-colored bats following him, while Bone Demon had always acted alone. TSK, blood-colored Bat King, how many martial artists have you killed? As soon as Bone Demon appeared, he let out a weird laugh at the blood-colored Bat King and said sinisterly, I've killed a total of 10 martial artists. Among them, 2 were half-step supreme, and the rest were manifestation realm martial artists. Humph! The blood-colored Bat King snorted coldly. You've come just in time. I've already surrounded these people, and it's time for them to die. As he spoke, the blood-colored Bat King was about to attack. Hold on. Since Bone Demon was here, he definitely wouldn't let the blood-colored Bat King enjoy the food alone. Bone Demon waved his hand, indicating that the blood-colored Bat King didn't have to be anxious. What do you want? The blood-colored Bat King said coldly. I don't want anything. Bone Demon shrugged, then changed the topic. However, you should understand that those who witness this should have a share. So, you have to give me half of these martial artists. Give your ass. The blood-colored Bat King said angrily, If you're so capable, go hunt by yourself. Why fight with me for food? Bat King, you can't go back on your words. I gave you more than a dozen first-grade sovereign martial artists from the previous batch that entered the Beast King Palace. Now that I'm asking you to give me a few people, why are you stuttering? Bone Demon's face instantly turned cold. It would have been better if Bone Demon hadn't mentioned the previous batch of people that entered the Beast King Palace. The moment he mentioned it, the blood-colored Bat King's face turned ugly. There were indeed many people from the previous batch that entered the Beast King Palace. When Bone Demon was in danger, it was him who helped him deal with more than a dozen first-grade sovereign martial artists. Otherwise, Bone Demon would definitely have died without a burial place. After all, in the Beast King Palace, the hunter and the hunted had a hostile relationship. Ningyu, you're well aware of the current situation. Whether we can survive will depend on whether we can let bygones be bygones. While Bone Demon and the blood-colored Bat King were entangled, Venerable Spirit Cauldron's soul force surged and transmitted his voice to Ningyu. Ningyu, why don't we join forces? In addition to Venerable Spirit Cauldron, Venerable Evil Dragon, and Venerable Talisman Marshal also had solemn expressions as they transmitted their voices to Ningyu. As long as one wasn't a fool, they would be well aware of the current situation. If they joined forces, there would still be a chance of survival. If they didn't, only death awaited them. Ning, you didn't directly answer Venerable Spirit Cauldron's words. Instead, he glanced at Venerable Blood Destruction and Sure Mo, who were blasted out of the void by Bone Demon. His meaning was self-evident. Venerable Blood Destruction and Sure Mo had suffered heavy injuries, and their combat power was less than 1/10 of their peak. In other words, they were already crippled. Relying on Ningyu's side alone, the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, Blood God Palace, and Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion was also impossible to contend against the blood-colored Bat King and the others. Seeing Ningyu's actions, the disappointment on the faces of Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others gradually deepened. It was so much so that Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others looked down on Ningyu from the bottom of their hearts. Only by daring to fight and fight could they have a chance of survival. Taking a gamble, a bicycle could turn into a motorcycle. You guys help me block Bone Demon and the blood-colored Bat King. At least buy me 10 minutes of time. Chapter 936. Shocking what? Hearing this, the eyes of the venerable spirit cauldron and the others widened, and their faces turned ugly. If it weren't for the Scarlet Bat King and Bone Demon, they would have cursed out loud. If they used all their trump cards, they could naturally resist Bone Demon and the Scarlet Bat King for 10 minutes. However, they did not believe in Ningyu. They did not believe that Ningyu could kill Bone Demon and the Scarlet Bat King in 10 minutes. After all, Ningyu's cultivation was only at the advanced stage of creation. No matter how powerful he was, how powerful could he be? Therefore, the venerable spirit cauldron and the others all revealed disdainful looks. You have no choice. Ningyu knew that the venerable spirit cauldron and the others did not believe him. But even if they did not believe him, Ningyu had to say so. Because this was their only chance to survive. Use the law of space. If there was only the Scarlet Bat King, Ningyu would not need the help of the venerable spirit cauldron and the others at all. He could deal with the Scarlet Bat King by himself. However, the appearance of Bone Demon completely disrupted Ningyu's rhythm. In the current situation, only a surprise attack could achieve a miraculous effect. Deal. While the venerable spirit cauldron and the others were still hesitating, Bone Demon and the Scarlet Bat King had reached some kind of agreement and completely joined forces. The alliance of Bone Demon and the Scarlet Bat King sped up the venerable spirit cauldron's consideration. After thinking for a while, the venerable spirit cauldron and the others decided to agree to Ningyu's request. She didn't believe that Ningyu couldn't do anything about it. As long as Ningyu did not want to make a move, there was nothing they could do. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After thinking about it, the venerable spirit cauldron and the others flashed through the swarm of scarlet bats and landed in front of Ningyu. Gold devouring lion, fire divine condor. Both of you are grade 2 human supremes. Help them deal with the Scarlet Bat King and Bone Demon. Ningyu went directly to the back, sat cross-legged, and transmitted his voice to the gold devouring lion and fire divine condor. Screech! The leaf fire divine condor had already sworn a heavenly Tao oath to Ningyu that he must obey Ningyu's arrangements. The metal devouring demon lion was different. Right now he was retreating a little, but the thought of retreating only lasted for a second. The metal devouring demon lion tossed it to the back of its mind. At most he would just die. What was there to be afraid of? Oh my, you guys still want to resist? Seeing the actions of Ningyu and the others, the blood-colored Bat King raised his brows and laughed sinisterly. With just you shrimp soldiers and crab generals? Crimson Bat King, don't get too full of yourself. With the few of us joining forces, we can even contend against a 6-winged sky-soaring python, let alone you guys. Venerable Spirit Cauldron stepped forward and said coldly, 6-winged sky-soaring python? Hearing this, the blood-colored Bat King's brows became slightly gloomy. The 6-winged sky-flying python was the same as them, a mid-stage tier 8 demonic beast. But the 6-winged sky-flying python's strength was much higher than theirs. Suddenly, the blood-colored Bat King seemed to have thought of something and sneered. The 6-winged sky-flying python is restricted by the python trapping array and can only unleash 50% of its peak strength. It's nothing much that you guys can contend against it. Crimson Bat King, why are you talking nonsense with them? According to our previous agreement, let's see who kills them first. Hearing the argument between the blood-colored Bat King and the venerable Spirit Cauldron, the Bone Demon curled his lips in disdain and charged towards the venerable Spirit Cauldron. According to the agreement, the Bone Demon could deal with the cultivators of the Supreme 9 Purities Temple and the Blood God Palace. As for the blood-colored Bat King, it could only deal with the 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion and Ningyu. Attack! Looking at the Bone Demon that was constantly approaching them, the venerable spirit cauldron and the venerable blood slayer did not dare to delay, and immediately charged out to fight the bone demon. Yin Hua and Shui Wuming's fighting strength was slightly lower, so they could only support from the side. Facts had proven that without using their trump cards, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and Blood Destruction Venerable, 2 third-grade Sovereign Realm sovereigns, couldn't even withstand a single blow. The Bone Demon blasted out 2 moves in a row, hitting their chests respectively. The huge force caused them to retreat several feet and fall into the swarm of blood-colored bats. Damn it! Cursing inwardly, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the Venerable Blood Slayer charged out again. But this time they had learned their lesson. Trump cards. Each of them used their trump cards. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron took out a light blue flying sword, a king rank supreme grade flying sword. The flying sword that the Venerable Spirit Cauldron took out was called the Blue Light Sword and had reached the king rank supreme grade. In a sense, the power of the Blue Light Sword had already surpassed the king rank and reached the half-step emperor rank. Seeing that the Venerable Spirit Cauldron took out the half-step emperor rank flying sword, the Venerable Blood Slayer opened his mouth and spat out a black sphere. Blood Explosion Ball. The Venerable Blood Slayer was a 3rd grade human, supreme grade cultivator of the Blood God Palace. He carried the treasure of the Blood God Palace with him, the Blood Explosion Ball. According to legend, the Blood Explosion Ball was personally developed by the current Palace Master of the Blood God Palace and was very powerful. The Blood Explosion Ball was divided into 3 grades: lower grade, middle grade, and upper grade. The inferior grade Blood Explosion Ball was not very powerful and could only kill creation realm martial artists. The middle grade Blood Explosion Ball could kill any cultivator below the 2nd grade human supreme grade. As for the upper grade Blood Explosion Ball, as long as it was released when the 4th grade human supreme grade wasn't paying attention, it could even kill a 4th grade human supreme grade. The Blood Explosion Ball that the Venerable Blood Slayer took out was of the middle grade. Swish! With a flick of his wrist, the Venerable Blood Slayer threw out the Blood Explosion Ball. Explode! As the Venerable Blood Slayer growled, the Blood Explosion Ball suddenly exploded when it was close to the Bone Demon. Rumble! The aftermath of the explosion spread in all directions. Some of the blood-colored bats with low cultivation couldn't withstand it and were instantly turned into nothingness. After one move, the Venerable Blood Slayer and the Venerable Spirit Cauldron rushed out and fought with the Bone Demon again. Although the power of the Blood Explosion Ball made the Bone Demon afraid, the Venerable Blood Slayer and the Venerable Spirit Cauldron were still at a disadvantage. Bang! While they were fighting, on the other side, the Blood Bat Monarch also made a move. Compared to the Venerable Blood Slayer and the Venerable Spirit Cauldron, the Venerable Talisman Marshal and the others were under much more pressure. As soon as they exchanged blows, the Flaming Divine Eagle was hit by the Blood Bat Monarch and was forced to retreat dozens of feet. Bang! 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 Following that, the Metal Devouring Demon Lion, Yunmu, and even Yunmu were defeated. The battle had only lasted for 2 minutes, and the 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion and Ning Yu had lost their generals one after another. Only the Venerable Talisman Marshal was struggling to hold on. 8 minutes. There were still 8 minutes left. With the Venerable Talisman Marshal's strength, how could he last? Humph. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The Blood Bat Monarch was furious that it was stopped by an ant. With a cold snort, it rushed out quickly. Embryonic domain! Now that things had come to this, the Venerable Talisman Marshal had nothing to hide. She shouted in a low voice. Immediately, a terrifying pressure spread out with her as the center. Domain! Chapter 937. Belonging Domain. Cultivators who had reached the Supremacy Realm were no strangers to this. In fact, they were very familiar with each other. This was because domain was a realm that all Supreme Being realm martial artists yearned for even in their dreams. A first-grade human supreme martial artist with a domain could even fight against a third-grade human supreme martial artist. It's actually a domain. At that moment, the blood-red Bat King's expression became solemn. Even he didn't dare to say that he could kill a peak grade 1 human sovereign with a domain. If a peak grade 1 human sovereign with a domain wanted to escape, he wouldn't be able to stop him. Fortunately, I managed to deceive the Scarlet Bat King. Otherwise, I really don't know what to do. Upon seeing everyone's reaction, especially the blood-red Bat Monarch's gloomy expression, Supremacy Marshal took a deep breath, and the worry in his heart eased a little. However, the Talisman Marshal Supremacy did not let her guard down. After all, she knew that her embryonic domain could only deceive the Scarlet Bat King for a few minutes at most. A few minutes later, the Bat King would definitely figure out that she was using the embryonic domain and not the real one. At that time, the real battle would begin. Glancing back at Ningyu, Talisman Supremacy slowly closed his eyes and quietly waited for the battle to begin. As for Zhu Zhan and the others, they were seizing the time to recuperate. It was such a good opportunity to recuperate. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't get another one. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. On the other side, the battle between Bone Devil and Venerable Spirit Cauldron also stopped. In fact, Bone was the same as the blood-colored Bat Monarch. He did not know how terrifying the Talisman Supremacy's domain was. Seeing that the Bat Monarch had stopped attacking, he also stopped attacking. Venerable Spirit Cauldron and Venerable Blood Extermination were very excited when the Bone Devil stopped attacking. They were no match for the Bone Demon. Even if they used their trump cards, there was no way they could contend with the Bone Demon. Now that the Bone Devil had stopped attacking, they, like Zhu Zhan and the others, seized the fleeting opportunity to recuperate. Get in. At the very back of the area, Ningyu was still sitting cross-legged on the ground. On the surface, Ningyu's expression was devoid of joy or sorrow, as if he was in a meditative state. However, as the person involved, Ningyu knew that the danger he was facing was not inferior to the Talisman Martial Supremacy and the others. In his sea of consciousness, Ningyu divided his mind into two. Part of it was used to control the law of space, while the other part was used to control soul force. Multitasking. Right now, Ningyu was indeed multitasking. Moreover, Ningyu's ability to multitask was rather special. He tried his best to compress his soul force into the spatial laws. One had to know that the law of space was a very terrifying thing. Compressing soul force into the law of space? The slightest bit of carelessness would cause the space laws to explode and his soul force to shatter. Fortunately, Ningyu was a heavenly supreme in his previous life. Otherwise, he would have been long dead. Pooh! Suddenly, the law of space struggled in Ningyu's sea of knowledge. Almost in an instant, it squeezed out the soul force that had just entered his body. This repelling effect made Ningyu's throat taste sweet. The fishy sweetness that came from his throat made Ningyu's body sway a little. Ningyu knew that he must not have any reaction at this time. Otherwise, it would be for naught. Swallowing the fishy sweetness in his throat, Ningyu tried once more. Puff, puff, puff. On the 10th attempt, Ningyu finally squeezed his soul force into the law of space. F***CK. Right at this moment, the blood-colored Bat King finally reacted. What you have is an embryonic domain, not a real domain. The blood-colored Bat King's expression was very ugly, feeling that it was cheated. The difference between an embryonic domain and a domain was still very huge. A martial artist with a domain could hang up and beat up a martial artist with an embryonic domain of the same rank. Using 1 to fight 10 to describe it was not an exaggeration. Embryonic domain. The Bone Demon seemed to have not reacted yet. His brows were tightly furrowed as he released his perception, carefully probing the talisman martial supremacy. Spirit cauldron supremacy, blood destruction supremacy. Why aren't you guys making a move? Sensing the bone demon's perception flying towards him, the talisman martial supremacy instantly stood up and yelled, "Swish! Swish!" Upon hearing this, the spirit cauldron supremacy and the blood destruction supremacy did not dare to delay and immediately took action. Among them, the blood destruction supremacy did not hold back anymore. He took out the superior grade blood explosion ball and threw it at the bone demon, courting death. Originally, the bone demon wanted to probe the talisman martial supremacy. Now that the blood destruction supremacy had thrown the blood explosion ball at him, he was instantly enraged. He gave up on probing the talisman martial supremacy and turned to fight with the blood destruction supremacy. The bone demon already knew the power of the blood explosion ball. Therefore, before the blood explosion ball reached him, he tore the void and disappeared. Oh no! The blood destruction supremacy did not expect the bone demon to be so smart. He hurriedly formed a seal with both hands and controlled the blood explosion ball to return to his side. Ha ha ha, the blood explosion ball is not bad. I'll accept it. However, just when the blood destruction supremacy wanted to retrieve the blood explosion ball, he realized that he had lost contact with it. The bone demon suddenly appeared beside the blood explosion ball and took out a blood-red cloth bag. In front of the blood destruction supremacy, he placed the blood explosion ball into the cloth bag. Bang! Just when the bone demon kept the blood explosion ball, the Crimson Bat King seized the opportunity and struck the talisman martial supremacy's chest, sending him flying to the corner. Uft! After defeating the talisman martial supremacy with a single move, the Crimson Bat King did not hold back. Instead, he struck again and struck Yunmu and Zhuzhen with the same move. Yunmu and Zhuzhen were only first-grade human supremacies. Naturally, their resistance was not as strong as the talisman martial supremacy. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Yunmu and Zhuzhen's faces instantly turned pale. Metal devouring demon lion, fire divine condor, if you're willing to submit to me and become my followers, I can consider letting you off. The Crimson Bat King did not want to kill the metal devouring demon lion and fire divine condor, who were both second-grade human supremacies. After all, they might encounter all sorts of people in the outer region of the Beast King Palace. There were also many powerful martialists. More helpers meant more options, right? Crimson Bat King. Just at this moment, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes and stood up from the ground, walking forward step by step. After a while, Ningyu arrived before the Crimson Bat King. You want the metal-devouring demon lion and fire divine condor to submit to you? Ningyu's face was emotionless as he spoke. Ningyu's actions caused the Crimson Bat King to frown his brows. He vaguely felt that something was amiss. However, with the Crimson Bat King's cultivation, how could he be intimidated by Ningyu? Stop acting mysterious. I can crush a martialist like you with one hand, the Crimson Bat King said coldly. I know that you can crush me with one hand. Chapter 938. All of them. Who do you think you are to discuss the ownership of the Leaf Fire Divine Eagle and the Metal Devouring Demon Lion with me? No one knew what the Blood-Red Bat King was thinking. He did not attack Ningyu immediately. Instead, he said in a deep voice, you are the same as me. We are not the creators of the rules and can only follow the rules of the Beast King Palace. Ningyu said, you think you are a hunter in the outer area of the Beast King Palace and treat me as your prey. Little do you know that we also treat you as our prey. Ha ha ha. Hearing that, the Scarlet Bat Monarch laughed wildly and said coldly, I am a mid-stage rank 8 demon beast. I can kill a warrior like you with one hand. Aren't you afraid of getting your tongue bitten by the wind? Ningyu curled his lips and said, "Since you said that you're very strong, then I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a chance to kill me." As he spoke, Ningyu took another step forward and extended his left and right hands. He said to the blood-colored Bat King and Bone Demon beside him, "Since you guys are only mid-stage, rank 8 demonic beasts, your strength is limited. Therefore, I'll let you two attack together." "What?" Hearing Ningyu's extremely arrogant words, apart from the Scarlet Bat Monarch and Bone Demon, even the Venerable of Spirit Cauldron and the rest opened their mouths wide in disbelief. Gulp! Everyone swallowed their saliva and looked at Ningyu as though he was a fool. The expressions on their faces were very interesting. Your arrogance did not hit the nail on the head. To be precise, the point of force was not right. It was a little crooked. "Get close to me later. I will find a way to tear the void and leave this place," the Venerable of Spirit Cauldron whispered to Yin Hua beside him. Ningyu had lost his mind. He could not go crazy with Ningyu. He could take advantage of the chaos to leave while Ningyu was fighting with the Scarlet Bat Monarch and the rest. Venerable Blood Destruction, Venerable Talisman Marshal, Zhuzhan and the rest had the same thought as the Venerable of Spirit Cauldron. Right now, the only ones who believed in Ningyu were Lu Wei and the Dark Emperor. "Brat, I thought I was already very arrogant. I didn't expect you to be even more arrogant than me. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish," the Blood-Red Bat King berated with a gloomy expression. "That's right. Don't forget, you have to attack together with Bone Devil. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that nothing will happen," Ningyu said calmly as he looked at the enraged Bat King. "Bone Demon, attack with me." The Blood Bat King was finally at the end of his patience, and he let out an explosive roar before he flapped his wings and shot out explosively. "I also want to see what's so special about this kid." In the beginning, the Bone Devil did not intend to make a move. After all, in his opinion, the Scarlet Bat Monarch was enough to kill Ningyu. However, the Bone Demon could not stand Ningyu's arrogance. In the end, he chose to attack together with the Scarlet Bat King. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two figures were extremely fast, arriving beside Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Bang! Stab! The Bone Devil's right hand blasted out, hitting Ningyu's chest without any deviation. As for the Scarlet Bat King, it flapped its wings and a strong gust of wind streaked across Ningyu's chest. Uft! 2 consecutive powerful attacks caused Ningyu to spit out a mouthful of fresh blood as his face turned pale. Can't even withstand a single blow. The Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil curled their lips in disdain when they saw Ningyu's tragic state. Swoosh! Right at this moment, Ningyu flicked his wrist and threw the storage ring at the Dark Emperor. "Dark Emperor, act according to my instructions later. If necessary, all of you enter the storage ring." Ningyu sent a voice transmission to the Dark Emperor. The Dark Emperor's heart skipped a beat, vaguely feeling that something might happen. Be prepared. At the side, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable, the Blood Destruction Venerable, and even the Evil Dragon Venerable, who was severely injured on the ground, secretly made up their minds. As long as Ningyu and the Scarlet Bat King fought again, they would tear the void and leave. There was only one chance. If they missed it, they would regret it for the rest of their lives. "Scarlet Bat King, Bone Devil, is that all you've got?" Ningyu wiped the blood at the corner of his mouth and approached the Scarlet Bat King step by step. Seeing Ningyu's actions, the blood-colored Bat King and Bone Demon revealed a trace of shock in their eyes. To be honest, although the Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil did not use their full strength in that attack earlier on, they used 50% of their strength. The reason why they did not use their full strength was because they were guarding against any schemes that Ningyu might have. Even so, their attack with 50% of their strength should have killed Ningyu. Go all out. The Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil felt very embarrassed that the 2 mid-stage 8th stage demonic beasts could not kill a late-stage manifestation realm human in one move. Therefore, they decided to go all out. Everyone used 100% of their strength. Let's go! As soon as the Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil launched their attacks, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the others did not hesitate to burn their blood essence to tear the void and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Scarlet Bat, go stop them! The Scarlet Bat King had already expected that the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the others would find a way to escape. He ordered while attacking Ningyu. Whoosh! The numerous Scarlet Bats also tore the void and chased after them. As long as the Scarlet Bats followed them, the Scarlet Bat King was not afraid that he would not be able to find the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the others. Open your minds! The Dark Emperor was very smart. He immediately shouted when he saw the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the others taking action. Swoosh! Swoosh! As soon as the Dark Emperor's voice fell, several beams of light rushed out of the storage ring and shone on Lu Wei, sucking Lu Wei and Furball, who was in Lu Wei's arms, into the storage ring. Damn it! Open your minds if you don't want to die. The Dark Emperor cursed when he saw the Lightning Wolf King and the others hesitating. Whoosh! 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 After being scolded by the Dark Emperor, the Lightning Wolf King and the others seemed to have an epiphany. They immediately opened their minds and were sucked into the storage ring by the primordial chi light beam. When everything was ready, the Dark Sovereign took a deep breath and her figure flashed. In the blink of an eye, she entered the storage ring and disappeared. Ding! A crisp sound rang out as the storage ring fell to the ground. A Dharma treasure that can store people. The Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil were a little stunned when they saw the sudden defense. Hee, it's not good to be distracted now. However, just when the Scarlet Bat King and the others were slightly stunned, Ningyu smiled and a purple ball of light suddenly appeared in his sea of consciousness. Chi! The purple ball of light was about the size of a fist and contained violent primordial chi waves. Apart from the primordial chi waves, there was also a terrifying soul power surrounding the ball of light. What's that? Looking at the purple ball of light that was speeding toward them, the Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil looked at each other and saw some doubt in each other's eyes. They were only mid-stage 8th order demonic beasts, so it was understandable that they did not know the law of space. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.